be live now. Welcome, Martin Fowler, Alligator Window Tint.
Yep, that's me in the boardroom.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on here today. And this is, I don't remember how long ago it was. Obviously, we've done this before. It had to have been probably a year ago. Yeah.
It was probably 2 years ago.
It could have been quite a while ago. You might be right. It might be a year and a half ago.
You're going to make me look it up on my phone since I can't do anything else on the computer.
You got it. I won't have to look it up. But if not, I'm looking it up because I'm curious. I don't think we've been doing this for we just hit 2 years, so it might have been. I don't know. You might be right.
Tint Wizdom.
You might be right. Might have been 2 years ago. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely been longer than.
No, a year ago.
1 year? Okay.
1 year. 1 year.
Times.
With 30 views. That's terrible for me.
No, it's not 30 views. No. What happened with that was, first of all the views are essentially on Facebook, right? You probably looked it up. Did you look it up on Facebook?
No, I looked it up on YouTube because I wanted to listen to it again while I was working to make sure I had some context as like what we talked about last time and then kind of where it is now because things have changed.
Sure. And most of the views are obviously on the Facebook page, but still, even then, some of the earlier Tint Wisdoms, if you want to find them with all the original views and comments, you've got to look way back on the Tint Wiz page, like way back, because they originally started on the Tint Wiz page. So I reposted them on Tint Wiz's page, but it's not the original comments during that transition. So anyway.
Yeah. I always find them on YouTube because I pay for premium. And then that way I can listen to it with the phone locked while I'm working, which you can't do on Facebook.
100%. And like Spotify, same thing. I listen, the Tint Wisdoms are on Spotify, same thing. If you like, that's a major downfall if you're streaming on Facebook only or Instagram only. So if you take like Tinter Tuesday, Jason does it, or like Marketing Monday, Patrick does it. Like if you want to go back and listen to these in the background, it's tough because you can't even put your phone in your pocket because you don't know what's going to happen. You can't lock it.
Exactly. And you know, I'm such a goon. Like I always want to be improving myself or learning something or something like that while I'm working. So, you know, if Matt's live with one of his cars, I'm usually listening to that or commenting where I feel like I can provide value. Or, you know, when Patrick does his live streams or podcasts, like I'm always listening to that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Spotify, I'm really only on to listen to Rogan.
Same with me. But you know, one of the reasons why I don't listen to anybody else, like why I listen, like take like Lex Friedman, I'll go to YouTube instead of Spotify. I like how the episodes are broken down in the in the comments. You can see the little segments. I don't know if you can do that in Spotify. And then also there's no video in Spotify for other people.
I haven't even looked.
So like if it's apples to apples, YouTube to Spotify, and one's on video, one's not, I'd rather just go to the YouTube. And that way, if I need to reference the video, I could.
Yeah. And I always put my content out on YouTube just because, not that I don't put anything on YouTube to hack the algorithm or get views or try to monetize my channel. That is not my goal at all. All it is to me is a host of place so that I can put all my videos in one spot and then embed them into my website or send them to people if I want. However, since YouTube is owned by Google being the #1 search platform in the world, YouTube being the #2, I'm selective on what videos I post, what cars that I highlight, things like that, so that they're usually enthusiast style cars or interesting cars that people might be searching anyway. You know, Porsches, McLarens, Ferraris, things like that when they're bored at work. And then if they then need window tint, the back end algorithm is going to be like, oh, you've been searching Porsches, you've been searching BMWs, you've been searching Ferraris. Now you're searching window tint. And the likelihood of my showing up is much higher.
Right. There's no, like any video you have, even if it's a quick cell phone video, unedited, the rawest video in the world can bring you an unbelievable amount of traffic when it's somewhere like YouTube, if it's found, depending on the title and so on. But it's a shot. It's worth doing, you know, and like you said, it's a great host. It's a great host for videos to easily share with customers just for that fact alone, because everybody can click on a YouTube video, watch it. You can start it in the middle if you need to. You do whatever you need to share it.
Yeah, I mean, and my pre-written text for sedan, SUV, pickup truck, that like my price option list has my heat box video embedded in the text message. So it's, you know, my good, better, best. Here's my options, my windshields, my sunroofs. Here's all my prices all up front. And then here's a video that explains my different films. Because being strictly mobile, I don't have a showroom. You've kind of got to know all that before I get there. There's not really a non-sleazy salesman-y way to show up mobile with your heat box and be like, hey, let me plug this in and give you a demonstration without sounding like you're trying to sell them some Cutco knives or a vacuum. And so I get a lot off the text message, but I wham people up front with everything. And then just, you tell me what you want. Like, I don't upsell at all. If someone says I want 2 fronts, $79, cool. You know, if they say, hey, I want your best all the way around, you can say that. But then when you start thinking about how much money that's going to cost, you might change your mind when I get there, and that's fine too.
And there's a few questions, if we'll jump in the comments. Haas had asked, he's assuming that you're Expel and then obviously mobile. Expel and mobile isn't necessarily a thing anymore. I don't know. But Jeff Rutherford suggested that you were probably mobile Expel before they might have shifted away from mobile only. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes. In fact, the comment that you were laughing at earlier today, when Patrick hung up on him, is I wanted to call. I get this question quite a bit in my DMs.
Oh, the Chris Hardy call?
Yeah. Yep. So I get this question in my DMs quite a bit whenever I post a video. And everyone's like, hey, how do I get with how do I get with Expel? I'm mobile. I get that a lot. And I can't speak for your rep. Like, I don't work for the company. I buy from the company. And then, so I did want to talk to Chris to be like, what's the company answer? Like, I know what I tell people. Is that okay to say this publicly? And he basically said in January of 2020, they made the decision that you have to have a brick and mortar. And I've been with them since years before that. So I'm in essence grandfathered in. And then, but I'm also going to have a shop later or mid to late next year. So in another, call it 8 months, it's really going to be a non-issue. But, you know, it's also one of those things. It's like, I can't speak for the company. Like, I'm thankful to be able to continue to buy their film, you know? So it's like, I can't speak for them. And even if I could, I wouldn't want to step on a rep's toes halfway across the country because someone wants to use Expel. Like, I wanted to use Expel too. I lucked out. I got in early, you know, Navy, not a Marine. And so that's, you know, it can be tough. But, you know, that also kind of leans into, you know, what we were talking about before we went live. Like, one of the reasons that I wanted to come back on is I started out strictly mobile. And then if you go back and listen to my first one, I was like, I think mobile is where it's at. This is where the industry's going. You know, like, I like the convenience that I'm offering people, yada, yada, yada. As we've talked before, I'm a big Gary Vee fan, so I kind of try to put the client first and reverse engineer it. However, I'm going to be transitioning into a brick and mortar. Now, the main reasons are I'm pretty picky about my environment. So I won't tint outside. I won't do office parking lots. I won't do carports. I have to have an enclosed garage. And I actually send out a text message before I get there that says, I need to confirm that you have a garage and that you can open all the doors to the vehicle all the way. Because I don't want it to open like that half click. And then you go to push on the inside of the glass, it opens it further and then puts that window puts that door panel into the wall. And then now you've scratched that car, you've got to send it to the body shop. So I want to make sure I have room to work. That being said, all the new, what's it called? All the new 250s, 2500s, all the new diesel trucks on the stock pizza cutters. Sorry, I'm a truck guy, so stock tires on a pickup truck. Don't do it for me. But on the stock tiny tires, they are too tall to fit in a garage, a standard 7-foot garage.
Need an 8-foot door.
You need 8-foot clearance for any of the new diesel trucks. And then there's so many 1500s that are coming with a lift on them that they don't fit. Then there's a lot of people that don't garage with their garage. You know, they've got their Range Rover sitting outside and their garage full of crap, which is asinine to me, but nevertheless. And then I lose anybody that lives in an apartment complex.
Right.
And so it's gotten to the, I hate to say my business has grown. I like to say my business has evolved where I'm losing as much business as I'm getting because without an open 2-car garage, I don't take the job. And so that's kind of what led me to think about a brick and mortar. And then the amount of money I spend on fuel, tolls, and truck maintenance is ridiculous. You know, anybody that's been to Florida, I mean, Orlando's a half hour from Orlando. And so it doesn't really matter how close or far my clients are. I spend 60% of my day driving. And so I can only book 3 appointments a day due to travel time. So I'm maxed out on production. Fuel's not getting any cheaper. So last month I spent $5,000 on fuel, tolls, and truck maintenance. My rent will be roughly $3,000. And I can double my production. And so that was the main reason behind it. And then I'm going to have 2,500 square feet. So that way, if I have a ceramic coating, I can say, drop it off. And then, you know, then I've got room for that and to keep doing the window tint. So it's just gotten to the point where I need it. You know, I want the clean environment. I want, you know, I'll offer mobile to my repeat clients, but it'll be probably a $200 mobile fee, which is going to be insane. People are going to be really upset and offended by that. But that's what it costs me per day to run my truck.
You explain it that they're Kim Kardashian and you're shutting down the restaurant for them, or you're shutting down the movie theater for them. So there is a fee, but they are the VIP. And it's, you know.
Well, I mean, most people, I should be charging more than I am right now just to cover my fuel costs because I'm paying more than double than I was last year.
Right.
But if I say to you, hey, there's a $50 mobile fee to cover some of these additional costs, and you say, that's fine, I'll just bring it to you so I don't have to pay the fee. Well, that's understandable. But if I don't have a place for you to do that, now I'm just nickel and diming you for extra money. So I need it to be your option, in my opinion, one man's opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have a range, right, you have like within 10 miles, there's no fee. But after that, there is a fee. And if you don't want the fee, find other options. But I get what you're saying. It makes total sense. It's not in any way. But I don't feel like you'd be nickel and diming them. It's a normal thing. If you're pulling somebody from look, you call a tow truck and you're far from that tow truck, you're paying for that tow truck. You're bringing your shop to somebody's house. But Correct. At the same time, the effort it takes to make people understand all that is probably not necessarily worth it either.
Well, not only that, but like Orlando and Claremont where I live, I mean, it's such a flooded market for tint that there's so many people that do it. And most of us by and large are good at what we do. So it's not like I'm the only guy. And so sometimes that $50 will be like, nope, I'm just going to go somewhere else. So I want it to be your option.
Sure.
You know, but that being said, like kind of we were talking about, like some people are hard brick and mortar, some people are hard mobile, the beliefs, whatever. But I really think that for me, and you know my story a little bit, like I came into this completely green, never touched raw window film when I purchased my LLC. So I think that starting mobile is largely why I got so successful so fast, is that I was able to book appointments off my work ethic with no industry reputation. It's not like I work for ABC Window Tint and then people are like, oh, you've been tinting my windows for 3-4 years. Now you're out on your own. I'm going to follow you. If I'd opened up a brick and mortar to start, I can cast only a very small net because no one has a reason to come to me versus the established businesses. However, I can build my brand off my work ethic and going to them. Right. Now I have a little bit more brand equity to trade on.
Also, your overhead now has reached a point where your overhead for mobile rivals an overhead for a brick and mortar because of like
it's more than
vehicle. Right. It's more. It's a very big. But when you started, that cost of doing business mobile is a variable cost. So if you
Right.
had no cars, you have no cost.
Right.
So at the beginning, it's nice not to have any of that cost because you might get 2 cars in a week. You might get 5, you might get none, you might get 3. Who the hell
Yeah.
knows when you're, especially come winter time, if you're new and it's your first winter, it
Yeah.
can be a cold winter, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, last winter was pretty cold for me too. I mean, last winter was dicey.
So how's this winter comparing so far?
So last winter, as you're well aware, I got a pretty good wake up call, and I did not sleep through the alarm. So to stay in the analogy, so no, I'm doing far better this winter than I was last winter. I've only had one day this winter that was a goose egg that I did not want to be a goose egg. And that was a last minute cancellation because the guy had his car broken into the night before and his gun was stolen out of his truck. So he couldn't make the appointment because he was filling out police reports. So, what can you do?
What do you attribute that to? Is it because you're more established, you have more repeat business? Is there anything that you made conscious change this year, preparing for this time of the year? Why is it better this year for you, do you think?
I just saved as much money as I could.
Throughout the year?
Yeah, throughout the year.
You wouldn't be in such a, instead of expecting it to be even all year, you stored your nuts in the summer for the winter, basically.
Yep. So I did that. And then last year there was 3 cars, 2 that I damaged, 1 that I was being accused of damaging that I did not, but paid for anyway, that all hit at the same time, right as business started to slow down. And, that cost me about 10 grand. And yeah.
Porsches.
And so, yeah, exactly. When you work on high-end cars and you repair them the way that I do. Now, I've only damaged 7 cars in 3 years. So my numbers are pretty good, but 3 of them happened all at once as the summer slowed down, as business was slowing down. And so that it all compiled into one. And so not only was I light on the money, I was then more on the cost, and that did not happen this year. Plus I had money saved. So,
what were the damages? Stephen Williams asked.
2 of them were Porsches and 1 was a Jaguar.
But were they door panel, seats, dash?
1 was a dash, 1 was a door panel, and then the one that was an accusation that was not something I did was a Jaguar seat.
That was fucking all 3. It's like a little Ramallah.
Yeah. And I handle things. So this is why I get 5-star reviews from even clients that I damaged their vehicle. And so, for example, we'll take the Porsche door card. It was a Porsche Panamera Turbo S, had about 100 miles on it. It was a $200 and something thousand car, full leather upgrade. And I nicked it. Very tough to see, but I knew I did it. So I knew which dealership he bought it at. I called the dealership, gave him the VIN number, talked to the service manager, ordered a new door card, gave him my AMX number over the phone, said, I'll be there in an hour or 2 whenever I leave here. I'm coming straight there. And then I set it up with the service manager, said, listen, I already paid for this part. Yes, I do have insurance, but I don't want to make claims for something I can afford to pay for. So I went there, paid for the part, and told the service manager, listen, this is the client. He said, perfect. This is his service advisor. I said, listen, when this part comes in, call him, tell him it's here. Nothing but smiles and handshakes. And when he's done, call me and invoice me for the labor, and I'll pay that. I had that all set up before I knocked on the door and told him what happened. So it cost me about $3,500 for that door card. A lot. But on a brand new $200,000 car with 100 miles on it, that's how I'd want it handled.
You have to do that. You could maybe get it repaired. Obviously, with a $200,000 car, nobody wants a repair. They want it to be the exact same factory, OEM, non-touched piece. And other than that, what are you going to do for somebody with a $200,000 car? If you can't replace it, don't touch it, because you can't give something like that back broken to a customer.
Right. And he's referred me business. He left me a 5-star review and he refers me business. He was like, dude, I'm not going to hold that against you. He goes, would I prefer that not have happened? Of course.
But that's how you deal with it.
Yeah. He's like, dude, you're a new business. You're just trying to make it. You're just trying to get your hustle, but you handled this in the best way possible. They're going to pop that door card off put a new door card back on. It's going to be brand new. It's not like the car is old, so it's not going to match. It had 100 miles on it. It was a brand new car.
And it happens to everybody. At
And
some point, something happens to everybody sometimes,
yeah, and so did it cost me a lot of monies? Yeah. But
Money.
the reputation that I gained from that outweighed,
Of course.
and he'll use me again. And he's
Even
referred me
more,
other
even
business.
more, because he knows the kind of business you are, so he's even taken care of. Those bad situations are always opportunities to make somebody even happier than they would have been if nothing happened. It's tricky, but it ends up happening that way, right? When you do it right.
It just stings like hell when it happens as your business is slowing down for the winter.
Fucking horribly, I imagine.
Yeah, that was. But I mean, we talked last winter. I mean, that was one of the stressors. But again, I got a wake up call last winter and I did not sleep through the alarm. So I made some changes, and, I made some changes in my marketing. That's saving me a ton of money this year.
What kind of changes in marketing?
So Facebook and Instagram changed their algorithms and the way they do ads and the reach and what they prefer as far as how they weight different pictures, different things, videos, things like that. I don't understand it as much as I should, but I hire John with Modern Media Geeks. He handles my website. He handles all my SEO. So I officially put him on the payroll as of January, because I was doing my own ads. Again, Gary Vaynerchuk. I was running, pictures of my BMWs against people that own BMWs. And I was doing a lot of those things, and it was costing me a lot of money. And then when I saw an ad that was doing well, I would dump more money into it. If I saw one that wasn't doing well, I would pull that down. And it was a lot of time, a lot of stress. And then once it got to the point where I wasn't getting anywhere close to the ROI that I once was or felt like I should have been getting, it's like, okay, changes have to be made, and I need to have someone doing this that understands it better than I.
Right.
And John does understand it better than I. That's why it's his business. And so now he's on my payroll. He handles all my website, all my SEO. I still make my own posts, but if you pay attention, you can tell which ones he does and which ones I do. And then now if I have a change that I want to make to my website, I just shoot him an email and, just, hey, these are my thoughts, make it happen, and then he just bills me monthly.
Nice. So happy customer, positive ROI for you as a business.
Yeah.
How things went the year before, and then once you signed him on at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And
he's saving me about $1,500 a month.
And he also, it's the same John, obviously, from the tint school in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's where you learned how to tint, because you mentioned you came in green, and that's where you learned how to tint, right?
That's where that relationship started. I mean, now, John's family now.
Obviously. Right.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting a wedding invite in September. So
nice. Congratulations.
That relationship started when I went to the tint school, and it's just evolved from there. But we didn't put me on the payroll until he basically pulled me aside and said, it's time.
And part of why I mention that is because with marketing, I think one good sign is somebody obviously who's within the industry. I think that helps significantly. And then somebody that you've had a long relationship with is another easy way to trust somebody in marketing, because they have other clients, they're in the industry, know them, it's not like they pop their head like a groundhog. They make all these claims and you're not sure if they're about to disappear underground at any moment. Yeah.
And I mean, I've also been to a dinner with him when the competition was in Orlando. I went to dinner with him and a couple other people, and he was explaining to them why he's good at what he does. And I got to listen to him break down that he understands the percentages that Google weights different things. Like if it's a new picture, or if it's got this many words, or if it's a video, or if it's linked this way, or he understands the rankings and like how heavily weighted each thing is. And so it's like, okay, this is why I pay you, because I don't want to know that. I want to put stickers on windows. I don't want to deal with that. And so again, he's saving me about $1,500 a month from what I was spending the year before. So, that also helps my winter this year not being as stressful.
Good. Now, you mentioned Matt and Obsessed Garage earlier. You put out a video about a month or so ago, State of the Union, where you kind of talked about some of the things we're talking about now. You transitioning into a brick and mortar, and that, like, you're obviously, look, you put it out there very clearly, always, that you're a Obsessed Garage fan, affiliate, and now you're going to have this beautiful garage space. Obviously, you're going to obsess, like, OG it out, and
to a ridiculous degree. I'm going to use Matt Mormon's color on the walls, which is
it should be a build that he shows or somebody documents, because his garage transformations are obviously impeccable and inspiring when he goes into somebody's garage.
I don't know if I'll be able to spend the money to make it worth him videoing.
I didn't know if there's an amount because you're so close to him and I know you have a relationship, but like
it's not that he's got an amount. It's just that the garage transformations he's done are 6 figures.
Are they really? Like the home ones, like the ones people win?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
But I mean, that's cabinets, tools, the works. So starting out with, I'm going to do the walls in Sherwin-Williams flat super paint Harbor Gray, which is the OG spec color. I'll do the Swiss Tracks floors with the slate gray with the black border, just like my personal garage is. And then I'll do a lot of his overhead fixtures. And then as you look into my bay, center wall will be my logo, and that's it. It'll look like a sterile surgical room. I want, when you see a picture of a Ferrari in there, I want it to look like that's a place someone would take a Ferrari. Sure. I don't want it to look, I don't want knickknacks. I don't want a green stripe in the wall because that's my color. I don't want any of that. I want it sterile and bright. There's detailers that do that. I haven't seen it too many times in window tint. I've seen a couple shops that are very similar, but I haven't seen it too many times. I've gotten to where I like the look. And so that's what I'm going to do. But my relationship with Matt, I mean, talk about shoot your shot. I mean, I reached out to him on a cold DM on Instagram a year into tinting windows and was like, hey, I just watched a video. You said you wanted this car tinted. I'd like to come up and do it. He said yes. Off some conversations off camera, he took a liking to me. And now I tint for Obsessed Garage currently. But Matt's always on to the next product. So, that ball could stop rolling at any time. So I'm just grateful for every chance that I get. But I'm very much a OG fanboy. I'm totally bought in.
So he's obviously rolling in the dough. He's fucking killed it on YouTube and on
to say the least, if you know what I know from behind the scenes.
He's killing it not only on YouTube, but in the way he monetizes his following and has created such a loyal following in the product line. And he, it takes you the reviews and the builds, the car builds, the whole thing. Do you see your facility like as part of your inspiration to further your content development? Do you see this becoming a bigger part of your business, or just like, because what I'm saying is certainly you're going to make some videos, more videos, hopefully.
Yeah.
Always, everybody should. But like ultimately, like what Matt's done, it's like it turned into a business. It's a business, right? And like that, are you planning to look at content creation for Alligator Window Tint as somewhat of a business over time with this new location?
Not in a monetizing my channel way. If that happens, great. I'm not opposed to that, but that's not the goal. But as we talked at the start of my business, I made every decision as if I was sitting at a table with me and Gary V and what I think the two of us would discuss and decide. That's how I made every business decision until I met Matt. Now I make every decision as if I'm sitting at a table with those two and what I think the three of us would discuss.
Like to see a
I
painting of this, the Holy Trinity, you three
yeah, I
together
mean,
at a
I just
coffee table.
my business is so vastly different than his, though. It's stupendously different, but there's some macro theses
Right.
that I try to take inspiration from and apply it to my category. I mean, he's doing an end-to-end solution for high-end products, curated high-end products, and then providing an end-to-end solution, whereas I'm putting stickers on windows. But I think there's a few macro theses that I would like influenced, and I think he's nailed it with the transparency, nothing's off limits, ask me anything. I mean, he did a podcast, Ask Me Anything, and people asked him what he made last year, and he was like, well, OG did this much revenue. I personally pay taxes on X revenue or X dollars. Yep. And so he literally told people, this is what OG grossed in revenue, and then this is what I paid personal income tax on. That level of transparency when you're operating at the level that he is very rare. And I think that there's value in that. There's people that want to know that.
Facts. Are you familiar with James Stradman on YouTube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So James obviously works with Expel sometimes for promos and stuff. He has PPF on his car, Tint. Mm-hmm. He hates Tint. But he has PPF on all his cars. Anyway, he's building a home right now, and he's offering that same level of transparency where he shows you the build, shows you how much you paid for the land, the wood, the steel, the beams, and how much the house is going to cost down to the penny. He shares with you the $70,000 or $60,000 in expenses he's paid for his Bugatti in the last 2 years, how much the services, how much the oil changes, and so on. And that level of transparency, you're saying that you see with Matt as well in his business. And I feel like some of that was really sparked with the Gary Vee, and that was, privacy. He would always say privacy is not a thing. There is no privacy anymore. And that is what is authentic today. It's not fancy edited videos. It's truth.
Yeah. So, I mean, and even my Tint and Talk that I did, which is purely ripped off Matt, because he does wash and talks. So I totally ripped his style. But even that, I hired my videographer. I had him come over. So I was mic'd up with a nice camera, but I wanted it raw. But I also wanted the quality good. And so right now, being mobile, I do less content because, when I'm coming to your house, for example, hey, Eric, you've got a car that I'd like to produce content on.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I bring my videographer? That means that I'm going to be filming in your garage. And then also the job's going to take probably about 3 or 4 times as long as what it should, because we're filming.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that. Whereas once I've got my shop, I've told my 2 videographers that I use, it's an open invite. If you're bored for the day, come on by and we'll film whatever is there. And I'll talk about, oh, I made a mistake on this car, so I'm redoing this window. Or this person brought a Camry by, and so we're doing that. Right. I like the transparency. I think it's big. I think no one talks about it. And
have you seen Matt Blackmare's YouTube videos where he live streams his entire install?
Yeah. And so Matt, and this joke came up recently when I was involved in one of his live streams, is the idea behind, so this is my take, one man's opinion. So I apologize if I offend, but I just kind of say what is so to me, and some people like it and some don't. But in my opinion, most of the content put out on YouTube in the window tinting category, the people making the content are establishing themselves as an industry authority facing other window tinters. Right? So you've got Matt, you've got Patrick, you've got Sean, and they're doing a lot of how-tos. They're doing a lot of tutorials. A lot of window tinters are reaching out to them and looking up to them for how to do better. Dirty, same thing. He does a lot of dirty tricks, a lot of how-tos. A lot of people are looking up to these people as industry authorities, but they're facing other window tinters as the authority. Forgive how abrasive this is going to sound, because I don't mean it that way, but I don't care what another window tinter thinks about me, because they're not paying my bills. They're never going to. they're
In some of
never
the
going to
cases of the people you mentioned, they are helping pay some of their bills. But I understand what you're saying. In
No,
your
I'm saying
case,
that another window tinter is not going to hire me to do their car because they're going to do it. So
another window tinter might buy Martin Fowler's favorite file, which gives you an affiliate revenue, or Martin Fowler, like buy your tools from your website or whatever. I think that's kind of the idea behind going.
Except I don't have those avenues, or
Not
at least
yet. Not yet, but you can see why somebody would. So, if you're putting out videos and you're putting out content, Expel might say, hey, we want to provide you XYZ because we love your content and so on. Now that is paying your bills or so on in a way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think it's coming, but I see what you're saying. You're looking at it just you to consumer.
My angle of attack is still establishing me as an industry authority, but facing the end client, where when that client's searching videos on YouTube because they hate their job, and so they're just trying to find what they're interested in. I'm about to get my windows tinted because I'm about to buy a car, and they're searching all these things on YouTube. I want my videos to come across as the client going, that's the guy I want to hire. And so that's why both of my videographers are ex-pro wakeboarders who used to make pro wakeboarding videos. And so their vision on how to document video is to entertain the end client or the consumer of the video. And so all of my videos are geared with kind of that train of thought, is to entertain the end consumer, make me look like the guy they want to hire. Now, people reach out to me, hey, how'd you do this? I'm having trouble here. And I don't have a problem helping out somebody. It's just not the end goal of my video content.
Got it.
Currently. Who knows? That might change. And when it changes, I'll talk about why it changed. Like the transparency, and then I'm deep in the wakeboard community. I mean, we can see, every board behind me is a pro model that was signed by that board because I'm friends with them all. It is what it is. Everybody's got their own angle of attack. So far, the market's told me I'm not an idiot for the way that I'm doing mine. I'd like it to continue to tell me that. But that's why I put out the content that I do. If I'm going to pay my videographer big dollars to come film a car, edit the video, I want it to be an enthusiast car, something that people are searching, like an M3, like an E92. I want it to be something super expensive, something super flashy or eye-catching, or something I want to do a whole lot more of.
Right.
Like, oh, you did a good job on that F250. Will you do mine? Absolutely.
That's how that works. The content you put out, if it gets out there, it will bring you more of that back in. So
yeah, and then the trust factor. Like I've got a video up with an SF90 Stradale, and that's damn near $1 million car. And so then there's also a trust factor where it's like, oh, well, if someone trusted him to do that car,
sure,
then I'll trust him with the car that I value.
Of course.
So like maybe the client that's watching that video just bought a Mustang GT, $50,000 car, nothing nutty, but it's the nicest car they've ever had, and it's the only brand new car they've ever owned, and they're 55 years old. They're going to love that car more than the guy that owns that SF90. Because the guy that owns that SF90, last time I was at his house, he had 3 cars in one garage, and in the other garage, he had 6 because he has auto stackers on the other side. So he had 9 cars. And since then, he's bought a Cullinan and he has a Roma on order. The guy that bought that brand new Mustang, first brand new car he's ever owned, nicest car he's ever owned, he values that Mustang more than the guy that has that $1 million Ferrari. So I want him to be like, oh, if he's trusted with a supercar, then I'll trust him with my car that I value. So it's a trust thing. And that's why I highlight some of the cars that I do. Like I recently did a 720S McLaren. you know, that was purely just because the guy has enough money to have a 720S McLaren. And I was like, he's a super, super, super nice guy. I've done multiple cars for him, and I've got another one. He's got an Aventador coming in January or February that I'm going to do. But a super nice guy, and was like, hey, you know, if you ever want to film anything, you know, come on by. Hey, perfect. I'd like to film that. You know, I'm not trying to do a whole lot of McLarens. They're kind of a pain. But it draws attention because the doors open all dramatic and whatnot.
Right. And like you said, you know, what you put out there, you'll get more of. And if you're looking for those high-end cars, putting them out will bring that. And if you're looking for people with not such high-end cars to build trust with you, those high-end cars will also do that. Billy Ellis, I want to make sure we touch on this.
He's asked like 6 times about my tint menu.
He's asked about the menu, and I want to make sure we talk about it because he is hyped. So it must be fucking
well, it's because he saw it. And they're out in the truck right now. So do I have one?
Can I go grab them?
No, because
I didn't think so, but I was just saying
it'll get my dogs riled up. If Billy's got it, if you've got it in your hands, Billy, take a picture of it, send it to me, and I'll try to show it on camera.
If he's got it in his hands, he could potentially join the stream, show it himself if he'd like. Badass Billy Ellis.
Do that.
Tinter Battles 21 legend. Go ahead.
So when Dobbins was in town last, he was picking up a car in Florida, and so I went out to dinner.
Laguna Seca M3, I believe. E46, is it?
Yep. That would be the one. So I went out to dinner with them when they were in town, and I showed Billy my tint menu. And this is something I give to clients that are a little bit undecided. And on the front side, the menu looks like a wine list.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm a bit of a wine drinker, clearly.
Did you get the Gary V wine, the V Friends edition wine?
Empathy, I tried Empathy.
Not the Empathy, like they did a V Friends edition, like just last week.
I can't afford his NFTs.
It's not an NFT. You just buy the wine, but it doesn't matter. You probably missed it. It was just like a special edition NFT wine.
I
don't need the NFT.
I stopped paying attention to the Gary V wine stuff because I tried Empathy and it just wasn't my flavor.
Okay.
His red was a red blend, and I'm more of a cab drinker.
Okay.
And so I kind of stopped paying attention to his wine stuff. The NFT thing is another conversation I'd love to have with someone that understands it. But
Josh Miller from Green Valley Window Tinting was actually speaking to Gary V a couple days ago or yesterday or so. I would do
unspeakable things to have that conversation.
So he basically asked Gary, like, you know, he said, hey, I have a family business. It's window tinting, wraps, paint protection, and I'm wondering how to get in the NFT space with it. And Gary gives his advice. I don't want to spoil it. I think everybody should watch the video. I'm not sure if it's out yet.
Send me the link to that video. I want it bad.
I will.
So nevertheless, so back to my menu. So I heard Gary V say in a video that he had a event at his place, and he had a menu printed up. And he did it like a trifold, like a menu that you'd see at like the ale house.
It was for marketing services, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I said, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to adopt it. So I went and had a 2-sided. It was just one basically cardboard stock with, and I wanted it to look like a nice wine list. So it had the calligraphy in the corners. And then my graphics place did my alligator heads, like coming down. Sorry, I'm trying to get in frame. It's backwards. So it was coming down at an angle here and up at an angle here in the calligraphy. And then on the front of the list, it had Prime CS, Prime XR, Prime XR Plus. And then the benefits to each one with the stats, like UV protection, IR rejection, TSER, and it had all that on the front as to my good, better, best options. You flip it over on the back, and then it had a la carte, and then it had 2 fronts, sedan, truck, SUV, and then the prices were CS, XR, XR Plus separated by a slash, like you would see on a high-end wine list where they've got a 6-ounce pour, 9-ounce pour, and a bottle price. And then so you could go effectively. And then I had a la carte, I had complete package, And then I had step up the windshield. So like if someone wanted a color stable film with an XR windshield or a ceramic windshield, or they wanted ceramic with a super ceramic windshield. And then I had all those prices listed out so you could see exactly what the total would be based off what you wanted on the list. So on the front side, it described what it was. And then on the back side, all of the pricing list. But it looks like a high-end wine list with the colors and everything like that. And I don't show it a lot because I have all the text messages that I send with all of my option lists. Most clients, when I get there, they don't need to see it because they've already kind of digested it or gone down the rabbit hole of the website. And all my prices are public on my website. And so I don't show it a whole lot, but for the undecided client where I'm like, oh, here's my option list, it just wows them.
Right. So Billy Ellis actually sent it to me. I'm going to see if I can pull it up right now on screen. Boom, there it is. Look at that. So that's one side. Everybody hopefully can see that up on the screen. And then
I'm not sure if some of the prices have changed because I haven't shown it in quite a while. But if you look at the calligraphy in the corner, like you can see my alligator heads coming out of the calligraphy. I mean, my graphics place just knocks it out of the park for me.
Cool. So thanks, Billy, for bringing it up, and Martin, thanks for sharing it. Pretty impressed that we were able to get it on the screen this quickly.
Right? Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't just send it and chime it in as much as he was. Because I gave him one when we were there.
Killed it.
I mean, the amount of money I spend in marketing is just stupid. Like if I think it's a clever idea, I call my graphics place and have it made.
And that's part of the fun of business. Isn't that part of it? It's like this flexibility to be able to flex your creativity. If you think of something as the business owner, you go, hey, I think this might work. I think this might benefit me. Boom, I get to do it. However it goes, it's fun. It like leaves some sort of like, it's a creative outlet, I feel like, right?
Or if it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Like I made a shirt, and Billy knows this because I was wearing it this particular night because I knew we were going to Twin Peaks, and I was like, well, there's no need to be super professional here. I had a shirt made that says "Nice Tints." It's a black shirt with lime green writing with my alligator head, and it says "Nice Tints." Mm-hmm. It gets all the double takes at a restaurant like Twin Peaks. I thought it was funny. It cost me $30 or whatever. Like, I'd rather wear that because guess what? No one's ever said, you know what? That's a good looking Nike shirt. Do you tint windows?
Right.
And not that anybody sees that shirt and wants to hire me, but it makes me laugh.
Hide your wife, hide your kids.
Yeah. I've got a shirt that says you don't want this life, and the don't is scratched out. I made a shirt that's got the tattered, black and gray American flag with the thin green line through the middle, but the thin green line is my alligator logo. Because the thin green line is the veteran, the military and veteran flag. So I did the thin green line with my logo. I don't know.
Did you see?
Just wet my tints. Way to be.
Speaking of like funny, have you been following like the memes and everything that's gone on with Tinter battles?
No, because that is totally not my flavor. I don't get into the battles. I don't get into the hype. I don't get into the trash talk.
Will you at least be coming for the educational and networking side of things?
Normally, yes. This time, no. The 19th is actually Liz's 40th birthday, and so I'm taking her to Burns Steakhouse in Tampa.
Nice.
Yeah, so I spent way too much money on the hotel for the night because I don't want to drive, and then dinner's going to cost me also way too much money at Burns.
Well, congratulations on a happy birthday. And
but her birthday's on the 19th, and
right.
She puts up with my craziness enough.
Right.
If I tried to do more window tint things,
loud and clear. Family time's important. That's an important birthday, and it's good that you're spending some time with her and making it about her.
Well, she knows I'm a crazy person, but she's like, listen, I draw the line at my 40th birthday. Like, because I told her, I was like, listen, Dean's in town, and I invited him to dinner, and she was like, I'm not dealing with window tint shit on my 40th birthday.
Did you say Dean Machine Mitchell, another Tinker Battles 21 legend.
Yeah. So I gotta find a dinner date with him while he's in town, but not that weekend.
Sure.
So, you know,
Cool.
he's just provided me too much value for me not to like cook dinner or take him out somewhere.
Yes, he's a hell of a guy. And have you seen what he's spearheading now, Tinters for a Cause? He'll actually be on next week, 1 week from today, same place,
Interesting.
to discuss Tinters for a Cause.
I will tune in.
Yeah, which he's spearheading, which, you know, is basically trying to bring, as I understand it, he's going to be, you know, detailing it in his own words. But as I understand it, it's trying to bring maybe some like structure to the outreach and the help that the tint community has been able to provide over the last few years to people in different scenarios, kind of just trying to bring some, maybe like a backbone to that whole movement.
I mean, I'm in. I didn't know about it because I follow almost no one on Facebook or social media.
Well, when you get as big as you do, I understand you don't like. I see like Jay-Z will follow one person. I imagine it's similar with you.
No, it's not that. It's really a mental health thing. Like it's kind of like if you turn off the TV, you'd be surprised at how much happier your life gets. And I think there's a tremendously large difference between consuming social media and using social media. And if it wasn't for my business, I wouldn't be on there at all. So I really only follow like 5 or 6 people. Everyone else on my friends list is unfollowed. Like I only follow a handful of people. I don't see a whole lot, but that means I'm focused and happier. Like most people that you talk about or you talk to and they're like, oh, did you see what happened on Facebook? Or I saw this post or I commented on this. It's never a positive conversation.
I disagree a lot with everything you just said, but that's okay because everybody's different. Everybody has different, like, look, everybody has a different outlook. Everybody has a different life, different friends, different exposure, different tolerance for everything. Everybody's
also
how
it's also how it affects me.
Of course.
And I'm a bit of a crazy person, you know, again, to quote Matt. But I mean, I'm seeing the same therapist that he is. Like I'm a crazy person. Like I'm trying to keep it in check. And the more consuming of social media that I do, the less that's in check. So it's a sanity thing more than anything, because I'm not well adjusted.
That's fair. I feel like I have an advantage when it comes to mental health and social media, speaking for myself, because it hit me like the internet and my age and how I kind of ended up kind of like going, like it kind of, you know, I was on Prodigy at like 10, right? I'm on like chat rooms at 13, 14. I'm in message boards at 15, 16. So and now I'm 38. So what I'm saying is I feel like I've so grown up with it, even when the message boards were at their infancy, the flame wars, the business end of it, the friendship end of it, the meetups that would come from it, all those different sides of it. And of course, you know, the toxic side of it. One of the things that I hate most about social media is really when people lose sight that they're friends and, you know, you're part of a community, whether it be a message board or Facebook group, and they start going at each other in hurtful ways and in long format ways that continue across days. Because to me, that's like, it's number one, it's anxiety to be part of that. Yeah. It's just constant anxiety. You go to sleep wondering, you wake up wondering, it's just a misery. But that aside, if you can navigate your way out of situations like that, I feel like there's so much like brother and sisterhood and like keeping communication with people and so on. Now, if you begin to even dip your toe into like dumb shit, not you, but like when people say like crazy,
the proverbial you.
Engage. Like I believe everybody you love, realistically, like we're looking at everybody through filters. There's 10%, 20% of the shit they do that you're like, this is crazy. But you're just like, I love you. It doesn't matter. And it's harder with strangers. You tend to pick up on that thing that you can't stand. And you're like, you suck completely. Does that kind of resonate at all?
But so many people say things online that it's like, if you were standing in front of my face, you would never say that because you know you're going to get hit.
And not only just hit, you wouldn't say it because you wouldn't have hurt the person. People do crazy fucking shit, especially if they've been drinking or consuming psychedelics at 2 a.m. in the morning, it might seem like a good idea to go nuts on your film brand or on your friend or on whatever.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so there's that. And then there's also, right, so we know that I started this as green as anyone could possibly start because I'm a crazy person. But for the first 35 years of my life, I was an employee somewhere. I've never worked for myself ever in my life until I resigned from Enterprise Rent-A-Car and started Alligator Window Tint. So I'm 3.5 years in to owning my own business. So not only am I navigating those waters, I'm then also now navigating consuming versus using social media for the business. And I'm wound up too tight when I'm in a good mood. Never mind if something sets me off. And so the less that I can get set off and the more I can kind of attempt to just woosah, the better.
Fair.
And so it's not so much an issue with social media, it's an issue with me.
Well, you, my friend, are going to be in for a rude awakening when your YouTube channel gets a little more popular, because it is common courtesy on YouTube to talk shit. The comments on YouTube are essentially as shit talking as somebody can imagine, mixed in with people who show love, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I
don't disagree with you. And
get your strategy on hand right now. You're not either going to not read the comments, you're going to not have comments. You're going to figure this out one way or another. You're going to enjoy them all.
Hopefully I can keep paying Matt's therapist as much as I do. I mean, so, again, with the transparency, 2 points to him for putting out a video where he videoed one of his therapy sessions. That's how I know who to call. Like, and it's, I talked to Patrick about that today. And
Latman?
Yeah. Just
Pretty boy Patrick Latman, contender. He was a team that didn't make it into Tinder Battles 2022, but Pretty boy Patrick Latman could come back for 23. We'll see.
Is his name really Pretty Boy?
That was the name of the team, was Pretty boy Patrick and Jamal.
See, I told him that not naming it Team Ramrod is really just a missed opportunity. Like, how do you not rep?
What does that mean?
Yeah, from Super Troopers? Come on. That's one of the great idiotic movies.
Not that I haven't seen the movie. I feel like I've definitely seen Super Troopers. I don't remember. So maybe
you like everyone else that watched that movie got dumber as you watched it. You just forgot the laughter points. You can't watch that movie and not get dumber when you watch it. It's just funny as you watch it.
What was that movie what was the show with Nick Swartz and where like police were on rollerblades?
Didn't see that one.
Oh, what a great shit. It just makes me think of Super Troopers. But anyway, how is Patrick Latman? Marco was asking. We haven't seen much of him online.
Busy. Yeah, he's navigating the pitfalls of winter.
Real quick, sorry. Carlos mentioned that Ramrod was a team. I think there was a team called Ramrod. So that could have been the conflict of interest there, making them Pretty Boy, which comes from Patrick and Jamal's beautiful complexion.
Then I'll give a pass because I was like, man, to not name it Team Ramrod's just a missed opportunity.
Reno 911 thank you, Jordan. That was the Nick Schwartzen one. That was
not a fan of that show at all. I attempted to watch it once and could not.
Okay, fair.
Not my flavor at all. I'd rather watch a stand-up comedy routine. So I've been trying to think of an appropriate time to bring it up. Another reason that I'll wham you with this also. So if you follow Gary Vee, you know that he did his pre-orders on his books. I'm an audiobook person, so I'm going to listen to it because he narrates his own books. However, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6.
Gary Vee books?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
6 of them. Let's figure out how to give them away. I literally bought 12 of them on the pre-order just to get the Gary Vee NFT, just to dip my toe in the pool. Because if I'm going to trust anybody blindly, it's going to be him in that world. So I literally bought 12 on the day of the pre-orders just to get the NFT and dabble in the pool, even though I knew I would never open the book and read it myself because I'm going to listen to the audiobook. But his his macro theses and inspiration has made a pretty positive, impactful on my business.
Mine too.
And so I'll, figure out how you want to do it. If you want me to mail them to you or direct to whatever, or figure out how you want to give them away. But I got 6 of them.
Excuse me.
I've got 3 more in my truck that I've been giving away to people as conversation seems appropriate. But I got 6 sitting here on my desk.
So for the ease of distribution, of course, you could mail them to me and then I can mail them to the winners. That it doesn't matter. I think the best way to give them away, which first of all, I want to thank you. I think that's very nice of you. I didn't know you'd be doing a giveaway, but that's super nice.
I've been talking to Patrick about it since the books came in, and we just haven't figured out a way to do it. And
so one of the ways we could do the giveaway, if you want to give away all 6 right now or one of them?
I don't care. I'm not going to read them.
Up to you.
I'm not going to read them. Give away all 6. I don't.
We could
I bought them. I literally bought them to give away because I'm not going to read them, and I wanted the NFT.
All right, Martin Fowler, do you have a pen or something you can type a number into right now?
I don't want to bog down my computer because it's from 2012.
No, your computer's not good. Maybe a pen and paper. We can give you a minute to
I'm
grab
looking.
it. I'm
looking.
Jason Omoleski has invented a proprietary way to do giveaways. Go ahead.
Back to branding. So what I will write down on is on my notepads that I pass out to everyone in stacks.
That's fucking, I remember last time you showing me how nice your business cards were too.
Well, you haven't even seen my heavy metal ones.
I haven't seen your heavy metal. Is that like rock and roll?
They look like my regular business cards that I showed last time, but I had them made to where they weigh more than an AMX Platinum. So each one of them weighs 21 grams. They're ridiculous. They cost me like $7 a card. I don't hand them out willy-nilly. I have aluminum cards that I hand out just willy-nilly in stacks. But if I'm in high net worth rooms, I certainly hand out those. It makes an impression on someone that's driving a $300,000 car. And then when they call me, they're not expecting $100. Let me get a pen.
All right.
All right. A pen has been acquired.
So Jason Omoleski, Tint 3, also a Tinter Battles legend, Tinter 21 Battles legend.
I know who he is. I've never met him.
So he actually invented he does a live stream on Instagram. He does giveaways on it. And he invented a very unique proprietary method to do Facebook and Instagram giveaways. So I think I want to call on his method tonight. And what that looks like is you go ahead and on that pen and with that pen on that pad, go ahead and write down 6 numbers between 1 and 30. Go ahead and write them down now. Don't say them and don't show the pad on camera. And we're just going to follow this. Jason wrote me a list of like how to do this. So we're just going to follow his procedure. That way there's no question in who wins or whatnot. And Jordan, I appreciate the compliment. He said, awesome show, but then he put his number right after that. So I don't know if that was just so maybe he could get an unfair advantage. I don't know. But
how many numbers again? 6?
One per book you want to give away.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Now all the numbers in there. Oh, you wrote them down already?
I've got one more to choose. I've got 5.
Okay.
And
one more.
I've got 5 numbers.
That's one number per book. So if that's it, or you can add one more.
No. I'll do one more. I'm just trying to decide on what's an appropriate number.
Anything between 1 and 30 works. Try to pick a number that'll be hard to guess. Okay, now here, take the pen, and to prove you're not going to write the number down, now throw the pen over your shoulder. That's part of the rules. Okay, now officially, I'm going to be looking at the comments. Now here's a disclaimer. When I say go, the first 6 people, I don't know the numbers.
I'll sit back so you know I'm not writing.
Okay, so I'm going to put all the comments because I don't know the numbers you picked. I'm going to put all the comments up on screen. Every single number is going to go up on screen in the order that they come onto my screen. When you see those numbers come up that you picked, please write down who it was. Those will be the winners.
Okay.
We're going to start right after Ty Bolkins, number 63. Here are all of the contestants. And I'm going to put them in as fast as I possibly can.
You said
in
1 through
order.
30.
I did, but some people get crazy and they're going to come fast. So when you see them, you've got to tell me.
I saw 23.
That's a winner?
Yep.
Okay, so let's stop there. Sean Roche, let me see. First 23. Shit, first 23 I'm looking right now was
If
Vinny.
it's Sean, how does he not have that book already anyway?
It wasn't Sean. It was Vinny
Okay.
Bienvenu.
So write that down because I don't have my pen anymore. So Vinny.
I'll reference this back. Okay, now we're going to keep going from there. I'm going to put the numbers in order. You tell me when we hit them. I can't go as fast as they come in, but I'll put them in order that I have them. And 1 and 30. So if you go above those numbers, there's no point.
18.
18. Okay, that was the same winner. So I don't know what to do there. Let's skip him and
Did Vinny just get 2 of the numbers? Did he just get?
Vinny did, but if somebody else gets 18, let's give it to them.
Sean, how do you not have this already?
Sean's been partying. If you watch his Instagram, Sean's been having a good time.
That's fair.
Sean's been enjoying his life.
Living.
If you watch his Instagram, you know what he's up to. Blinging out of control too, with a new venture. Sean Roche. So, okay, we've only given away 1 right now. The number 23.
No, 2. I thought
It was the same person. Guess number 18. So I was waiting for somebody else to put 18 in here. Stephen Williams. That'll be number 2 for 18. All right. So we've given away 23. We've given away 18. Those 2 are accounted for. Let's keep going with these numbers. I'm going to skip ones if they're not between 1 and 30 for the sake of time. Doesn't quite make sense to show.
Marco.
Marco, boom. That's number 3.
How does Marco not? Come on. I got no problem mailing it to him. I just how do you not have this book already?
I think Marco had it. He probably read it and burned it for fuel and needs another one.
Yeah, that guy's a beast.
He's a savage.
That too. 23.
23, Mark Driggers, Voodoo Tint, an Autobahn dealer, badass human being as well. So that's 4 given away, and we'll keep going down these numbers. There's 2 left.
7.
7, Jesus Ramirez. That's number 5. And then we have the 6th potential winner.
29. I just saw
29, Marco Cazorla. Did he win twice? No, right?
No. I saw 29 before Marco.
So here's a favor. I'm going to go back and rewatch this. I'll get in touch with everybody who won. But if you won, okay, if you won, I mentioned your name that you won. If you shoot me a message with your address, you are doing me, I'm going to appreciate it so much. So if you don't make me track you down, I appreciate it. But if you do make me track you down, I'm going to track you down and we're going to get these books to you. So thank you, Martin. That was very, very kind of you. And thank you for everybody who put the numbers in.
Well, I bought them to give away. Like I said, it was literally me just buying into Gary V like he's not already. Stop it. It was literally me just buying into Gary V because I wanted to dabble in the NFT. And if you're going to trust somebody, trust him, my opinion. But I listened to the audiobook. I haven't opened one of these.
I'm a big audiobook fan myself. I can't really sit down and read a book, but I can listen.
I am when the author narrates their book.
Right. The audio, I mean, right. If it's the other, like a British person, it's not quite as engaging.
Yeah, like even if Morgan Freeman's I prefer the author. Like Matt Best's book, he narrates his own book. If anybody's into like military story, Matt Best wrote a book called "Thank You for My Service," and it's about his kind of thing with the military and his whole story. It's super interesting, and it's not all rah action packed. It's his story, and it's super interesting.
Are you familiar with Tim Kennedy?
No.
That's fair. He just put out a book, also military, ex-UFC, and so on. He just put out a new book, which kind of goes through his trials and tribulations. So this is somebody that, you know, if you follow him on social media, if you've watched him fight, he's a sniper, ex or a Green Beret. He's still active military too, like at some aspect. You watch him and he just seems like a GI Joe, just this person full of energy. How do you do so much? How do you run a school? How do you run a training facility? How do you do all this? And his book breaks down those points where like he was at his lowest. And, you know, it's also not a very rah-rah book. It's more of like connecting with somebody, understanding other human beings and all they go through.
Fair enough. I don't get into the military, but my military experience was not positive. I mean, I left honorable discharge, maxed out in pay grade. So it's not like I had a bad experience because I was in trouble. It just was not positive. So I don't get too much into the military books, but Matt Best makes me laugh on his videos on YouTube. And so I wanted to listen to his book for that reason.
Cool.
What questions do we got? Anybody? I know I put it out there. I didn't get too many comments, but I was like, you know, because I just figured I'd get a lot of questions from the fact that like I started out mobile, I'm transitioning to brick and mortar, reasons, things like that. Like I don't know. I figured people would want to ask questions, and especially from someone that'll answer them open book style.
Well, I think there's, like you said, you're offering a unique perspective. Somebody who started in mobile, you're a few years into the industry, and now you're transitioning to brick and mortar. And on top of that, being that your perspective was so pro mobile before, and it still is, but more of maybe a good entrance in. I think, look, you offer a lot of unique perspective. I think you're probably going to have people reaching out to you privately, asking you questions moving forward.
Probably. And I'm still pro mobile. I still, as a macro thesis, I think that I'm still right. It's where does that meet the rubber on the road of like, I'm declining as much business as I'm taking, because if you don't have a garage, I'm not doing the job, because if I can't do it properly, I'm not going to do it.
So here's the thing. I don't think that you declining more business than you're taking, to me, the way I see it.
No, it's about the same. I'm not declining more. I'm declining the same amount.
Well, let's call it the same. I don't think at face value, to me, and hear me out, I don't think that necessarily matters, because if you're getting, let's hypothetically say you're getting 200 people who want tint and you're having to turn away 100 of them and only keeping 100, you're saying, wow, I'm turning away almost double my business. If you yourself are 100% booked out during your time and getting as much money as you possibly can, then, well, you're turning away business, but you don't have any time on your schedule. Now, the reason I say hear me out is because ultimately you're increasing your capacity because you're eliminating drive time, and that is a huge benefit. It also is it. Look, you're increasing capacity. You're able to now maybe bring on an employee. You're able to save yourself from being in a car and driving around, which is huge. When you do drop-offs, that's a game changer as well. When people drop off at your facility, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't argue with a single part of anything you've said tonight, but turning down business just means that you're doing a good job in marketing. There's a high demand for you, you know?
Yeah, but in the summertime this past year, a couple months ago, I mean, I was booked out 3.5 weeks because I can only book 3 appointments a day.
Right.
Like, that's inappropriate. Like, and thankfully, people are willing to wait. Also, it helps that every other shop is booked out 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks. And so, like, well, shit, if this guy's only booked out 3 or 4 more days for the guy that I want, okay, fine. You know, and based on the way that I sell and whatnot, my average dollar per car is pretty decent. And so, you know, at 3 cars a day, at my average dollar per car, I'm doing well, especially considering I've been in business 3.5 years. Like, that's a fantasy story. Like, if you go, excuse me, wine. I mean, if you go look at the resume of cars that I've got on my website for someone that's been doing it 3 years, that's, you know, like, that's not normal. I don't think.
It's definitely, I mean, everybody obviously has their own experiences, but it's definitely a success story. I don't think anybody can argue with that,
like, you share a lot of my stuff. I mean, 3 years in and I'm doing $1 million for, not every day, but even having the opportunity to do a car like that in your first 3 years is insane. I mean, I've got multiple Lamborghinis under my belt, multiple Ferraris, 1 McLaren, Maybach Mercedes, Bentleys. For 3 years in, like that doesn't seem normal to me. I'm thankful, and it's become my normal. But I think if you take a step back as an outsider looking in, that's not normal.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt it's, part of it is you're in Tampa. Part of it is you're a great tinter, you're a great networker, you're a great guy. You stand up, you're marketing and so on. So you're going to get those cars and then you take care of them. So they're going to come back to you. They're going to tell their friends and so on. But at the same token, if you're like Cody in the middle of nowhere in Delaware, man, I just don't even know if you could do whatever you want. You're not making Bugattis appear. And I don't know how many it is what it is.
But to play devil's advocate, when you're that far up north or in a colder climate, the tint costs more. I mean, Matt's prices, I'm pretty much top 5 most expensive in the area, to my knowledge. And some of the other more expensive guys are people I consider mentors and very much look up to. But Matt up in Detroit, his starting price is significantly more than what mine is. You can't charge that down.
So I don't believe look, Matt can explain. I'm not in Michigan. I'm in California. But I believe what Matt's pricing reflects is his ability to market himself. He's created an enormous demand with YouTube, and he offers a very boutique style installation. He's not, he's taking a couple cars a day, whatever it is, he's filming them all. And I think there's tons of shops probably in and around his area that don't understand and couldn't dream of getting the prices he's getting. But if it's
down here,
capsule you build around yourself.
I get that down here because my pricing structure is based off what I pay for my material. And then that it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I don't set a price and then reverse engineer it. I base my price off what I pay. And that lends me to be one of the higher prices in the area. And so, okay, again, one man's opinion, but I think that a lot of the,
I notice anytime I put a comment up, I can distract you. I was curious if you're reading them instantly.
4 cars, because I practiced on my dad's 1500. I practiced on his 2500. I practiced on my mom's Mercedes, and I practiced on my F-150 before my first paying customer.
So 4 cars and then paying customer. All right.
Yeah, but again and again and again and again. That's why I love doing pickup trucks. It's because it's mostly what I practiced on. But so, shit, where was I going? What road was I on before I got blinded by that comment?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I battle between putting the comments.
No. I got you. So what I was saying is, as far as pricing, I get questions from tinters that are like, how do you consistently get the prices that you do? And it's because I don't discount anything. For any reason do I discount no one. I proudly say that I'm a veteran-owned business. I don't offer a veteran discount. I offer 0 discounts to anyone for any reason. And the hardest thing to do is when you're starting, whereas I set my price for color stable film on a sedan at $189. So people call, hey, I've got a new Corolla. What do you charge to tint it? And I'm like, well, currently my prices are $189, $349, or $599, depending on your heat rejection. Windshields $129, $249, sunroofs $99 or $199 per panel. And they're like, oh, so $189 is your least expensive. Yes. Well, there's a shop up the street that'll do it for $150. Will you match that? I'll bring it to you. No, I won't. My price is $189. And I think a lot of people, when they start their business, not when they're established, but when they're starting out and they need that $150, they need that $189 to make ends meet. And they will sacrifice their price to get the client. Well, then when that client refers them, they're going to refer them at the $150 price, and they'll just, tell them this, they'll match it. And it's the hardest thing to do when you're starting, when you need that money to pay your bills. But if you stay firm and ride out the difficulty and walk on the glass and walk on the eggshells, When you start getting referrals, you're getting referrals at the price you want without having to negotiate. And then that snowball keeps going.
Right.
And
Right.
it now being able to do that is blatantly because of the way I started my business, in that my startup capital came from my dad. I borrowed an ass ton of money from him and spent way too much.
Do you mind sharing how much you used to get started and how much you think you might have should have used?
I spent just shy of 100, and I probably should have spent 50.
Okay.
But my dad does well, not well enough that it was a gift, but well enough that he could loan it. But at the same time, being able to start like that, where I had a very upfront conversation with my dad when we started the business, where he said, listen, if you're serious, I'll back you. And I said, okay, take a step back, because I am serious. But just so you know, that means I'm going to liquidate 5 figures out of your bank account. And then I also don't have any money in savings, and I have bills coming in. So I need living expenses, bill expenses. I need these things also paid for whilst I'm getting going.
Right.
So, for lack of a more appropriate way to say it, I basically had a blank check. And so I spent, for example, setting up my LLC with the state of Florida. You can do that for like $100 and something bucks. I spent $1,000 with LegalZoom because it was like, I don't understand this. So I just checked every box. I want all of this. I'll figure out what I don't need later, because I don't want it to bite me in the ass, because I wanted to save a few $100s. Blatantly, because I was operating on basically a blank check. So I'm not making light of that, but if I just spent it and back it and then just figured it out later. Now, also, that's coming in completely green, completely ignorant, but I wanted to create a professional service around window tint without knowing anything, and ended up spending what I spent. That being said, I could afford to not lower my price to get the job and stay firm. I could afford to do that. Based off loans, basically. But nevertheless, it allowed me to stay price integrity. And then once that ball gets rolling, it rolls in the direction that you want. So, and so now that we're talking about that, I think it would be a disservice. So going back to what I said about some of the cars that I've gotten the ability to do as fast as I have, people that make 5 figures a year hang out with people that make 5 figures a year. And people that make 6 figures a year hang out with other people that make 6 figures a year. And so on and so forth. Based off what my dad does and the income bracket that he's in and the network that he has, it got my foot in the door with people with nicer cars sooner than I maybe deserved.
Okay.
The first Lamborghini Urus that I tinted, the first Lamborghini I tinted was an Urus.
I like how you say it too, Urus. Like it's.
Well,
I'm not saying it's not proper. I'm just saying
it's technically how it's supposed to be said.
I know. It's just you don't hear it said that way. Go ahead.
So that's a guy that lives across the lake from where I grew up. He's water skied with my dad for longer than I've been alive. They used to pass me around the boat with the handle on the back of my life jacket based off who was skiing. My dad sent him a text message that said, Martin's been getting very good at this window tinting thing. It was about a year in. Next time you buy a car, as a favor to me, I'd appreciate it if you give him a shot. So I got my foot in the door based off my dad saying, I'd appreciate it if you give him a shot.
Right.
Now, the first car he bought after that text message got sent happened to be one of the first Uruses that hit Florida, because he operates at a very high level. Now I've earned my keep. I've done many other cars for him, but that got my foot in the door with Lamborghini. Not because I earned doing a Lamborghini, but because of a personal relationship, and he's known me my whole life. Now I post a picture of a Lamborghini, everyone loses their shit, And then now people that also have Lamborghinis trust me because I've already done one.
Right.
So it's that age-old question, like, how do I get experience doing it if no one will give me the chance to earn experience?
The chicken or the egg, right? I mean,
100%. So to not give credit to that, or nod my head to the blessing or the privilege or situation, however you'd like to interpret that, to not give credit to that, I think is a disservice. Like, the sun and the stars and the moon all had to align in order for all those things to happen. So I've earned my keep. I like to think I'm good at what I do, but there's also some situational things or some relationship building based off my family's network that has also made a pretty positive impact in the level of clientele I was able to get so soon. And I think that's, it's not good or bad or props me up or doesn't, because I've earned my keep, but getting my foot in the door in some of those rooms has been very impactful. And
right.
knowing how to operate in those rooms. You know, my dad's a very successful business owner. He hangs out with other successful business owners and executives and things like that. I'd like to think, and I think it's accurate to think, that that's maybe why when I reached out to someone like a Matt Mormon and I'm operating in his presence and I know how to operate around people that operate at that level,
yep.
that he understood, like, oh, you understand how to operate in this room.
Do you take any of that? Do you feel like you carry, I'm sorry, do you feel like you're going to carry that into, like, when you go to an event like XDC?
I'm not going this year.
But you went last year, yeah?
I went the last year that they had it.
The last year that they had it, right. And basically what I'm thinking is, like, what you're describing right now paints a picture of, like, you saying, like, your experience, like, through your dad has kind of led you, and maybe in a way that you're able to make introductions and approach people like Matt from Obsessed Garage. And I feel like that's something that everybody should also, like, it just makes me think of, like, when you go to something like the Window Film Convention, or when you go to Tinter Battles, or when you go to your dealer meeting for your manufacturer, you are around your peers, you are around people that your manufacturer and different execs and so on. And, like, you know, being tactful in those environments can open up opportunities, or they can make them evaporate.
I actively searched for and sat down next to and made sure I had a meal with the CEO
of Expel.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan.
Yeah, who's super nice.
Yeah,
super nice. I'm sure he doesn't remember, because who's not trying to get in his mix or say hi to him or shake his hand? So I'm sure he doesn't remember. But I made it a point to, like, sit down next to him and talk to him while I was there. You know, and then of course he got a thank you card, like, I sent to corporate. Like, I'm assuming it got to him.
That's cool.
But knowing how to operate in those rooms is important, because people can smell their own. And if you don't know how to operate, think about if you were in real estate, right? And you're used to selling $200,000 homes, which is probably not even the average going price in Orlando now. But let's say that
exists anymore anywhere. But go ahead.
No, I bought my house for $208 in 2018. It's worth $370 right now. So it crazy. That's insane for where I live. But say you're used to selling $200,000 homes, and you're like, why can't I sell one of those $1.5 million homes? It's like, because you don't know how to operate in that room. And that's not a shot at that person. It's just the person that can afford that. They live a different lifestyle. And if you can't speak that language or walk in those shoes, they're going to smell it out. And
understood.
There's some intangibles there that I think people don't give enough credit to.
I agree. I think you're right. There's a lot of details that you can have at your fingertips that make a difference if you're willing to recognize that it's something, and then you're willing to take steps to use it.
Like, I think that, like, one of the things that I tell people about the way that I do is that There's a tremendously large difference between a tradesman and a business professional whose business is a trade. There's a lot of people who are tinters, where it's like, to hell with making money for Eric, because he just got paid $1,000 for this car, and I got paid $250 or $300. So to hell with making money for him. I'm going to go out on my own and do it for me. And there's a lot of people that work just hard enough to where no one can tell them what to do, and they can be their own boss, and that's fine. Kudos, because no one's telling you what to do, and that's glorious. So kudos to you. But then I attack this as starting a business, a professional service around a category that is a trade. And I just think that there's a difference in that nuance.
There absolutely is. And I think it's something that, you know, because of the internet and social media, it's become even more apparent because you're able to see growth and the ways different people run their businesses and so on. And you start to say, hey, you know, I might be the best tinter in the world and I'm doing 100% tint jobs, but maybe there's areas I can improve where it comes to me running my business, because there is a business and then there's the trade of the fulfillment of the business. And, you know, like you said, there's a differentiation there. And even just simple things like if you go on Expel's website, you can look at the corporate team, right? So you can go through there, you can see a picture of them, you can read a little bio of who's who. And then when you're at XDC, you're going to recognize people. And if you're in front of them, you know who they are and so on. And that makes a big difference, knowing who's who, as opposed to kind of like hoping they're wearing a name tag or kind of wondering or asking after they walk away.
Yeah. You know, there's nuance and there's, I don't know, like I started a professional service around the category of tint. And so my train of thought is a little bit different, and for better, for worse, like there's no one way to do it. There's more than one way to skin a cat. For example, I like to also say that I'm running the business. You're welcome, Dean. I'm running the business that I'd want to be a consumer of.
Right.
So with that being said, I submit to you that McDonald's profits more on their hamburgers than Ruth Chris. I'd rather eat my hamburger at Ruth Chris. The experience is different. So McDonald's might profit more on their hamburgers. The experience is different at a high-end steakhouse. I'd rather eat there. I'm running my business in that regard. Not one's right. McDonald's probably profits more. So McDonald's might go, hey, listen, we make way more money than you. And
maybe,
says,
right, who knows? But you're running a business the way you would want to be the customer of that business.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and so there's not one way that's right or wrong. It's just I completely started this from scratch with the absolute most ignorance that one could start a business in. I had never touched raw window film when I started the business. I bought the LLC on June 4th of 2018 and then was like, shit, I need to learn how to do this. Where do I learn how to do this? And then figured that out. Like, you couldn't be more ignorant just out of not knowing.
Right.
But I had a vision and I'm running in the direction that I see my vision. And there's a ton of places that are far more successful than I'll ever be that have a different mentality. But I come home happy every day.
That's what's important. Lots of ways to run a business, lots of ways to do anything, right? There's a lot of different methods, but it's about doing the way that works for you, for your lifestyle, for your family, and so on. I mean, even just like you mentioned, look, the difference between mobile and flat, like mobile and brick and mortar for automotive, let's say. Hey, if you're opening a business right now, today, 2022 January is going to be your business. There's a lot of advantages to maybe starting off as being mobile, because it lends itself to a lifestyle business. If things shut down, you're not as worried necessarily. You don't have as much overhead. You're able to build your name out there. You're able to do multiple things because you're not bound to certain hours. There's a lot of advantages. But like you said, there's also a lot of advantages to moving into a brick and mortar.
And that's why I say that my business has evolved to where I feel like I need that. It's not, it's not that my business has grown to where I need that. I mean, it has grown, but I don't think that the growth is why I need a brick and mortar. It's the evolution of what my clients have come to expect. I also service, on an average, a higher end client with disposable income. They have a little bit different expectations when you're tinting their GT3 than if you're tinting someone's 2008 Honda Civic that they just bought at a buy here, pay here. So I've also set myself up for the pickier client that has higher expectations. So I've done it to myself. I've done it to myself. So I'm not, saying one way or the other. But with that being said, the business has evolved to where I feel like this is the next best step. Not that it's grown like, oh my God, I'm growing so much that it's like, I'm a pretty paranoid person by nature. And the thought, so in Florida, for example, insurance follows the car, not the driver. So if you live in Florida and you're like, oh, hey, yeah, take my Tesla to the gas station, you've got insurance. No, if I get in an accident, it's your insurance that pays because insurance follows the car, not the driver. I will not have someone driving around with my vehicle, with my brand and my contact info driving around. I just won't. Because if they get in an accident, that's on me. Liability and brand image. However, show up to work on time. I'm comfortable with that. You're not going to drive around.
Okay.
Now, again,
everybody's got their comfort level and how they want to do things and what they want to worry about at night
100%.
and so on, right? So, like,
now I blatantly come into that because my dad's an insurance agent. So, I'm more familiar with the liability side, the insurance side, what can happen when it goes wrong. So anybody that knows Patrick Stream or Matt Stream, they know that when I speak on issues like this, I'm speaking from a worst case scenario, worst case liability mindset. Like that's where I come from because that's how I was brought up. But that's also why I won't have somebody driving around. Like what happens if, for example, I live in Claremont in Orlando is kind of where I'm from. There's a lot of lakes, a lot of people that have boats. What if I send my employee to someone's house, they end up forming a connection, they get along, the guy's like, hey, as soon as you're done, we're going wakeboarding. He's like, cool, you're my last client for the day, I'll join.
You're talking about yourself, right?
No, well, I mean, yeah, I have done that, but I'm saying like if I send an employee out and they do
I know, I'm just saying, you're talking about a scenario that you did, and you're like, if that was my employee and they got hurt,
not even hurt. I'm not even talking about hurt. What if while they're on the boat, the guy says, hey, listen, we're out wakeboarding, we're having a good time, work's done for the day, have a beer.
Yeah.
Which on a wakeboard boat is highly possible. Now they're driving my vehicle with my company information on it after they've had a beer. Sure. Negative. Not a chance. So now again, we're talking worst case scenario, most paranoid that you could possibly be, and I get that. So I fully acknowledge that I'm operating in the worst 1% of mentality and all the faults that come with that.
Look, you have to at least understand your liabilities in any scenario so you can at least go, hey, is that something I'm willing to take? If you're saying like, if somebody's like, hey, I want to sell drugs, right? I want to sell whatever drugs you want to sell. You can't just go, well, I want to do it. What's worst could happen? You got to go, what's the worst that could happen? Oh, I could go to jail for 20 years. Okay, I'm not willing to take that liability. It's the same thing. Like if you're going to drive a car without insurance and driver's license, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, you could be responsible for the life of somebody else and a lot of damage. That's the worst. You should at least acknowledge what it is. I don't think it's you being paranoid. I think it's you just basically thinking it through and setting your boundaries where you feel comfortable so you can live at the stress level that you are happy with.
But
it's not over. It meets your.
I'm overprotective to the point of paranoia.
Well, whatever. I think
I'm saying I am though, but I know that and I operate accordingly.
I think it's reasonable. Look, I had a crew of 10 plus people, vehicles on the road at all times. And there were scenarios where there was accidents. There was even a scenario where a drunk driver with no insurance, left off specifically off an insurance policy, crashed into our vehicle while they were drunk, totaled our vehicle. I mean, there's like as shitty as it can get. So I get where you're coming from. But it's up to you, you know, it's like, it's your comfort level. It's easier to sleep at night without that shit being a possibility. And I get it.
Yes, but my end goal is I want to get to a point, like the end goal with my business is I want to get to a point where I'm operating my business, not working my business. So eventually I'll have to bring on people. I'll have to have employees. And I'm way more comfortable with show up to work on time. And I don't care what you do outside of work. Like once you leave for the day, I don't care. Just be here on time. I'm way more comfortable with that than you driving my truck and trailer that I own or my transit van that I've outfitted or whatever.
I get you. Look, there's advantages. I'll tell you this right now because, and I get what you're saying. So I'm not in any way opposing what you're saying, but I'll just give you some of my mindset in the flat glass business in LA in previous life. There was an advantage that I recognized early on in having crews. So a crew is an installer and maybe their helper, but usually it's just an installer in a van operating remotely throughout the day. Meaning, like you're saying, they're driving our vehicle. They're not showing up to work every day. They're showing up to the job site to work. But what I'm saying is because we could have 7 or 8 installers operating independently in different areas, and they're not at the shop all day. They're not at the office. I don't have to hear them. I don't have to, like Joe, Flat Glass Joe is in here right now. I didn't have to hear Flat Glass Joe's creative shit for the day or his joke for the day while he tells another installer that's sitting next to him. And then that one wants to talk to the other installer. You don't have to, look, you put 7 people in a room and it's different than those people operate. Everything brings its own challenges and it's all up to what you're comfortable with. So I saw an advantage of not having to worry about everybody showing up to one place. Some people did, but you're scattering them around. And even when you're sending installers to a job together, it not always being the same installer. So you avoid some of that stuff that happens when everybody's coming to work in the same day and they work differently and different paces and so on. Because look, you have 2 installers working separately at different locations. They don't talk about how slow this one is or how that one does it the way that's not right or whatnot. You put them in the same room, you get your own challenges.
Well, yeah, because window tinters are like tattoo artists. They think that theirs is the only good work and everyone else's is shit.
So it's nice when they're separated sometimes too. Everything comes with its benefits. And
one of the guys who I consider a mentor, he's opened up a new location. He has other locations. I'd like not to mention the name or how many because I don't want people to figure it out. But just because I haven't spoken to him about talking about his business publicly like this, so I don't want to put him on blast. But I consider him a mentor. He's got a new location and he's working it by himself and his employees are doing the other locations. And he's like, you know what? I might not even bring on an employee at this because I kind of like working by myself for the first time in a long time and no one bothering me. And like, he's enjoying that right now because he's just going in by himself, doing his thing, making his money, and he doesn't have to deal with any of the drama.
And that's something that sometimes people find out inadvertently later on because, you know, you go, hey, I want to open a shop. Well, you go, well, how big is your shop going to be? So you take somebody like Matt Blackmare as an example. He opened a shop and I know he had some different plans at the beginning, maybe having some people renting space, but ultimately he operates his business in a way he doesn't need to have other people tinting windows next to him or other employees because he can afford the overhead. He can afford the peace and quiet and he loves it that way. And what you're saying is it.
He's such an anomaly, though. Like
you could be a one-man show and run the most peaceful business. Shamal's another example. It's a one-man show. I'm not saying he's not going to add employees, but the point being, like, if you say, hey, I'm going to go rent a 5,000 square foot place with $5,000 a month rent, well, then you're going to have employees. And if you say, well, you know, what happened to the days where I wasn't doing payroll? I wasn't worried about hiring and training. I wasn't worried about people not showing up. I wasn't worried about having 6 cars to tint at the beginning of the day and 2 of my tinters didn't show up. And, you know, but at the same time, you can put yourself in a scenario where you can't change that, right? Because you've built up all these things around you. Once the machine gets going, you don't get to just stop the machine. That's the thing. So you have to understand what the machine.
Once you
you're
create
building
the beast, you have to feed the beast, and the beast is hungry.
And the beast is its own thing. So it helps to be able to know what kind of beast you want to build, because you can build a beast that can eat you up. And I just wanted to put that comment that Joe, this is Flat Glass Joe. He wanted to leave a comment saying that he is shit. And I don't agree with you, Joe. I think you're an awesome dude.
I highly doubt that. If you're tuned in at this time, I'm doubting it. Mango.
He's an awesome dude. Flat Glass Joe, probably going to be competing at Tinter Battles 23, a future legend. In the flat glass competition, but I just wanted to put Joe's comment there because I love you, Joe. I don't know why you think you're shit. You really need to boost your self-confidence because you are an awesome installer and human being.
He's probably just going off the joke of the comedic value of what I said if I had to take a guess at it.
I could put it up there one more time if anybody needs to interpret it. It says I am shit. I'm just saying.
I'm doubting he actually thinks that.
Who knows? You know what I mean?
But like Matt is such an anomaly. Like, he's figured out a way to be successful doing like 1 to 2 cars a day because he's focused on the tech, not the tint.
Right.
What an odd avenue, but no one else is doing it. So he's created his own white space in a crowded category.
Trailblazer. And the type that has built himself a lifestyle business that also, I think, puts plenty of money, hopefully plenty of money in his pocket. But I think, like, you're talking about somebody who, he has a baby that's only maybe a year or so old. He's got a family, a wife. Like I think his lifestyle is important to him. And he has literally built his own trail from my perspective of like, this is the lifestyle I want. This is the type of business. This is what it's going to look like. He's a fucking legend.
He's found a big white space in a crowded category.
He made it. He created it. Wouldn't you say? He didn't even find it. He built it.
Yeah, fair. Tomato, but yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't like it was some like need that was unfulfilled that he recognized. It was like, hey, who the fuck would have thought you could do multi-cam live streaming on YouTube, make more in tips than a tint job sometimes. And
so I think he did find a need, just no one realized he needed it. I couldn't do what he does. I log off of his stream sometimes because I get aggravated at the repeat questions. I don't know how he deals with it. I couldn't deal with the same question over and over and over and over again. I couldn't deal with that.
But don't you deal with it anyway on a consumer level, frankly? Like, how do you get consumers to not ask you the same
I'll give you an example. And if Matt's watching, he'll laugh at this. The amount of people that ask him what tape he's using to tape up the felt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like every 5 minutes because someone logs into the stream like 5 minutes after someone asked that question. They're like, oh, what tape are you using?
Yeah.
And
what
then
are you covering the doors with?
Yeah. And then someone logs in 10 minutes later. Yeah, right, Dean. And then someone logs in 10 minutes later and they're like, hey, what tape are you using? He'll answer that like 90 times in one stream. I would Elvis the computer. Like, no, I don't have the patience for that. So like he's got a level of patience that I don't have. Yeah, right. Exactly, Steven. Exactly.
But I just feel like, look, that's a normal part of any business, whether you're B2B, B2C, customers are going to ask questions and they might get repetitive. I just feel like you're probably similarly as patient. I just feel like maybe after, like right now, you're giving yourself less patience credit because people probably ask the same bullshit all the time about how dark can I tint it? I want it dark but light. I want it legal but not legal, you know?
Yeah, no, And I will say what is so and kind of hit them with some reality that, like it's pretty black and white. It's like legal or it's not. Like I can tell you what I do the most common thing, but like, it's not my tint ticket. It's yours,
Right.
And, people ask me, they're like, do you get tint tickets? I'm like, yeah, about once a year. In Florida, yeah. I get tint tickets about once a year. So how dark do you think my windows are?
I'm blessed to have not had one ever in California. And I have 50 on the windshield and 15 on the sides and something less than 5 on the back because it's 5 over factory.
So I'm an idiot.
Praying.
So I'm running 5 all the way around my all blacked out pickup truck, and I've got 15 on my windshield.
Your pickup truck just not only
egregiously stupid.
so your pickup truck just like has that like look to where you're gonna, if you're a cop, you're gonna look at it and it grabs I feel like it grabs your attention a little, so it's probably not doing any favors. It's a what's that person doing wrong type of pickup truck.
It depends where I'm at. If I'm out in the country with a lifted diesel that's blowing smoke, then yeah, I don't get bothered at all. If I go,
you got the Carolina squat going or no?
Fuck no. I've been trying to calm down on the F words, even though I use them like a comment.
I'm just saying, because of the trailer, maybe it gives you.
No. I have a 2500, and so the suspension is such that it does not squat even with the trailer.
Good.
I spend enough at my diesel mechanic. I would never squat. No. But yeah, if I don't have the trailer with me, if I'm in certain parts of town, they leave me alone because they're like, oh, we know him. If I'm in other parts of town in a lifted diesel that's blacked out, I look out of place. And so I'm getting pulled over. Now, by the time I get pulled over, roll all 4 windows down, arms out the window so they can see my hands. Mm-hmm. Then we have the concealed carry conversation. I let them know where my firearms are at. It just kind of lets them know I'm not the droids they're looking for.
You put your arms out the window?
Oh, yeah. My windows are
Is that necessary?
Dark. No.
I usually roll down my windows. I put my hands on the steering wheel, shut the car off, and they got it. You put your hands out the windows, they might be expecting like a felon.
No. My windows are so... No. But my windows are so egregiously stupid dark.
You put them down, right? When the cop's approaching your vehicle, all of them?
All 4 windows come down. And I will hang my hands out the driver's side window.
Oh, I'm not putting my hands out the window. I get bitten off or something.
But when the cop comes up and is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are your arms out the window?
I have a firearm in my lap. And
I literally will tell them and say, listen, I know that my windows are egregiously stupid dark. And I wanted you to see my hands before you got up to the window. And then they ask, hey, I need your license and registration. Excellent. Before I move my hands, I have a Condition 1 weapon in the car. It's located here. Would you like me to step out and you can clear my weapon? Or would you like me to get my driver's license and registration? And it just lets them know I'm not the droids they're looking for.
You do this once a year?
How about?
Holy shit. Give me too much anxiety. I'd stop driving if that was the case. You're telling me this is like a felon arrest right over here. Like,
but when you have your windows tinted as egregiously dark as I do, it's kind of part of the package you bought.
That's fine. Do you have the sticker on your car that shows you donated to the Sheriff's Association?
No, I have no identifying marks whatsoever on my car. And
I feel like that's an easy win when they see you're a donator to the Sheriff's Department. It's like a boom.
I can get a better sticker because I have family in law enforcement, but I don't want a law enforcement sticker on my car with the current state of people's feelings towards law enforcement. And I don't want my vehicle damaged because they see a pro law enforcement thing. I don't even have an Alligator window tint sticker on my car anywhere.
That's a tricky one because if you put a window tint sticker on your personal vehicle and you're driving around dark window tint, like
I actually get bothered less about my window tint when I have the trailer with me that says window tint on it.
Hold on, I want to know, Haas, real quick. What's automatically a reason to stop the car? I'm curious.
Dark window tint.
Dark window tint, I would think, right? But
yeah, no. 100%.
Maybe saying the sheriff sticker. I don't know.
No, well, the sheriff stickers you can get because you have family or because you donate. And
right, and family, they hit you up on the phone, so like everybody does. Not everybody does it, but like it's pretty common. It's not like some rare sticker.
I will pay the occasional $115 ticket and just charge it to the game. Like you can't. Like I said, it's part of the package you bought.
See, if Haas is saying that the sticker is a reason to pull you over, and I'm wondering if that's because Haas, you assume you're going to get paid off because the person obviously will spend money for the sticker. Like, why would the sticker be a reason to pull somebody over?
You just can't tint your windows as dark as mine are, and then complain when you get pulled over for it.
Is it a secondary offense in Florida? No, they can pull you over for it, right?
It's absolutely PC to pull you over, which is mostly what they use it for. Most of the time in Florida, window tint is probable cause to pull you over. most of the cops in Florida use it as a reason to get up to your window to see if there's anything in the car they don't want, or to see who or what's in that car. Or can they smell something they don't want to?
Maybe get a little whiff of something. Maybe you
most of the time. But again, you don't go to a dealership and buy a big lifted truck on big tires and then complain you don't get good gas mileage. That's part of the package you bought.
Yeah.
So if I have to occasionally pay a tint ticket because my windows are egregiously dark, so be it. I could remove and retint my windows if I didn't want to deal with that.
Of course, if anybody's going to do it, it should be you. You know, a tinter. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like, if anybody's going to enjoy the luxuries of not worrying about it, it's somebody who does it for a living, you know?
I mean, but, you know, everyone's got their different levels of comfortability. And, like, I don't mind. Most of the cops near me, I know them. I tint for half of them. And I've told them, like, hey, listen, if you're with a supervisor and it's my day to get a tint ticket because you want to appease him, that's fine. And if you've got a newbie with you and you want to show a traffic stop as like one that you know you're not going to get shot or it's going to go sideways, and you want to pull me over for a training exercise, then I'm fine with that too. Like,
if you want to do a felony arrest on me as an training exercise for your partner,
I've offered that.
I'll resist whatever you need.
Yeah. Well, so I did law enforcement in the military, so I kind of get their job enough. Military cop and civilian police is very different. I get that. I'm just saying that I have enough context to where, like, I'll have that conversation with my officer clients and they're cool with it. They don't take advantage of that. They don't pull me over. They usually leave me be. But I just let them know I'm not the droids they're looking for. Like, those cops that, like, most people are like, man, fuck him, I got a tint ticket. Dude, he just wants to go home to his family.
Of course.
If you talk to him like a person, he's going to talk to you like a person.
Sometimes.
Like,
there's good and bad everything, right? Like,
no, I've gotten pulled over by
Chick-fil-A. It happens.
I've gotten pulled over by rude police officers that are just on a power trip, and you just know they got bullied in high school. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, like it. But blanket statements, they kind of don't bother me. If they bothered me a lot, I got a ton of tint tickets, I'd redo my windows. So far, it's a non-issue for me. But if I have to pay $100 ticket once a year, I don't care.
Right. I mean, it's part of enjoying the tint. And like, I have illegal tint in California not because I'm trying to be like a rebel. I would rather have legal tint, but I need the glare reduction. Like, I don't do well with bright lights. And I don't know if it's because of the, like, I had the laser eye surgery years ago, but like bright lights really fuck me up. So like when the sun is really bright, it's like, I have a hard time seeing. The tint 1000% helps me see out of the car.
Do they offer the medical exemption from your optometrist like they do in Florida?
Probably do, but I'm not really the type of guy to go get that stuff done. I just like to hang out at home and get work done. And like, I was
just thinking, like, if you do get pulled over, and then you can be like, yeah.
The thing is, I've never been pulled over in the 10 years in LA, not for tint. I've been pulled over for speeding. I roll my windows down. They haven't said a word.
Twice I've heard you talk about that. Like, wow, that's bold to put
never in like 10 plus years. All my cars have been tinted, all illegally. I drove my car, just to give you some reference, I drove my car with an expired registration for about 8 months and illegal tint and no driver's license. And thankfully, because not no driver's license, expired driver's license. What I'm saying is California police are a different animal than Florida police. Florida police, to me, are like super troopers.
California's a different animal.
It is, but I mean, it goes in all directions. But I'm just saying, police in Florida, I feel like, man, there are police everywhere, like mosquitoes. And then in Florida and in California, you're like, all right, there's some flies. They might bother you here and there, but for the most part, they're not around.
That's shockingly accurate.
And I'm not calling police officers flies. I need them if something goes wrong. I'm calling them and I need their help, and they're there. I'm hoping to protect me and protect everybody else. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's like a different mentality, police. It's like just a different vibe. I don't know.
Very much so. Yeah,
you know,
but because it's a different part of the country. The vibe is different. I'm sure the vibe of police officers in California is different than Washington, is different than North Dakota, is different than Colorado, is different
Like
than Georgia.
businesses,
I mean,
they're in a different city, they're in a different state, they're run by different people, and they're comprised of different people. So it's everything's different about it, right?
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, tint wise, I feel like you can get like, wow, California has strict tint laws, and they allow basically nothing on your front windows, nothing on your windshield, anything on your back windows. Technically, it's 70 on your front windows, nothing on your windshield, anything on your back. But while that's the case, and you have more of a lax law in Florida, I feel like I've been pulled over in Florida. I have been for tint, whereas I haven't been pulled over in California. So I'm just throwing it.
But it's also, let's stereotype a little bit. Like, I'm not going to suggest to you that stereotyping is a good thing. I'm going to suggest to you that it's a real thing. And if you're driving a Tesla in California, like,
I'm driving, but you're right. I'm driving a Toyota in California, and I was driving a Grand Cherokee in Florida, or a BMW 3 Series. I mean, I've never driven
here's the other thing.
Super classy.
If what you're driving looks like a rental car that's been tinted, you're getting pulled over.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if it looks like a rental.
No, perfect example, right? So
like the tints on the outside of the side windows.
That happens so often. So
yeah.
I used to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with many police. All the dope boys use Enterprise because it's one of the only places.
And the outside.
Yep. Police will break an axle turning around to pull over a rental car that's got tint. So Liz, who I affectionately say wife, just because it's kind of easier than telling the whole story. But she drives a 2018 maroon Chevy Equinox. It's the new body style, but it's the first year of it. Now, I have it totally debadged, and it's clean for what it is. But it looks like a tinted rental car because it was a rental car before we bought it. So it's a mid-level trim with the normal wheels, maroon Chevy Equinox with dark tint. When she goes to my parents' second house up in North Carolina, she gets pulled over for her tint more often than I get pulled over for my tint in my lifted Duramax that blows smoke. Because she looks like a tinted rental car, and my truck is clearly not a rental.
Right.
So she gets pulled more than I do for tint because her car looks like a tinted rental car.
I feel like a tinted Challenger would be like a very.
You're getting pulled. You're getting pulled.
Like,
yeah, no, you're getting pulled. Tinted Challenger, Charger, Camaro, any of the
Charger.
The new,
that's what I meant. A tinted Charger is what I was.
Any of the new age hoopties, yeah, you're getting pulled.
Like,
especially in certain areas now. But I drive a lifted diesel, and I live in the country.
Right. And I drive a Toyota that's pretty unassuming, so I hope people just assume I'm.
Again, not to stereotype, I look exactly like who you think would get out of my lifted diesel truck.
You look like a police officer, kind of.
You should see me in sunglasses. It's worse.
So, like,
I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, when you tint your windows as dark as what I do, sometimes you're going to get a tint ticket. That's part of the package you bought.
Yeah.
I'm running limo tint all the way around with a 15% windshield. Yeah,
that's dark as fuck. A lot of tinters would have a problem with that 50%.
I won't do it for anybody else. Flat out. For customers, I will not tint darker than 70% on a windshield.
Yeah.
But I'm also pretty confident I'm not going to file a lawsuit against myself.
You won't do 50%?
Nope. Certain clients I will. Certain, like, if I know you. But no, clear only. And I lose business. And I lose business from it all the time. Because everyone's like, I want 35. I want, nope.
It's so tricky because if you want to be paranoid about it, you doing it for certain people almost makes it worse. Because it's like an admission of guilt that it's wrong and you're doing it. But
those are people. Those are people that I personally know.
I know. I'm just saying when you talk about like being paranoid, to me, I start going down paranoid. Like you get in a car accident, they get in a car accident. They don't say shit, right? They're like, I'm happy can be. The person they hit and fucking paralyzed their insurance then inspects the vehicle and finds tint on the windows and then subpoenas them to, you know what I mean? And I'm just saying, when you say worst case paranoia, I can go down that route on my own with.
And you're not wrong. I've probably done 50% on a windshield 5 or 6 times this year.
You have 5 or 6 lawsuits. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
But
you're fine.
But I also put full windshields on 80 or 90% of the cars I tint.
But 70%, I mean, is clear. Like,
yeah,
it's clear. Clear is clear. Anytime, like if that goes to court, it can be technically not wrong. I believe in people with a brain will look at that and go, that is clear.
The way it's been explained to me by the police in Florida. So the police in Florida that I've talked to. So that being said, they've basically said to me that, yes, if you read the black and white of the law, it says no reflective film below the AS1 line. However, they've told me that that was written before window film technology has gotten to the point where they have clear heat reduction films. Sure. And Florida's not going to spend the money to rewrite their window tint laws because window film technology has improved. Well, so as long as it's a 70 or 80% VLT, you're fine. So by the black and white of the law, technically no. But if it's 70 or 80% and it's virtually clear and you can't even see that it's there, they're not going to bother you about it.
So funny you bring that up, because Jeff Nyrol Rutherford actually operates out of Florida, and he is now part of the IWFA. And I believe one of his initiatives is hopefully changing that law specifically for clear ceramic window films in Florida specifically. So that's pretty fucking cool.
And to let me know what I can do to join that fight. But that's the way it's been explained to me by all the officers that I've got that are clients of mine. And that's, city, county, state, anytime I have a officer client, that's the conversation I have with them.
Is your father's business car insurance by any chance?
Part of it.
Okay, so then relevant-ish, Jeff Rutherford also said, talk about insurance denying claims. Is that something that he shared with you ever, where insurance denies an accident claim possibly because of window film?
I've never heard of it.
I haven't either, but I'm sure it's happened, and I was just wondering,
I haven't heard of it, and I'm quite confident if that were to happen, especially with what I'm doing now, I would know about it. Like,
your eyes lit up there.
Well, no, I just that's a conversation my dad would call me about and be like, yo, protect your ass. So that's something that I feel like if that was frequent with the company that my dad works for
sure, you would know about it.
He would call and tell me. But I mean, he owns his own business. He doesn't work for corporate. So he's an independent agent. He doesn't work for a corporate company. So, there's that too. But I mean, like I said, tell Jeff I'll join that fight, whatever I need to do. But that's how it's been explained to me by the officers that I've had, is they've said, listen, if it's 70, 80%, that's clear. You're fine. Florida's just not going to spend the money to rewrite the laws because window film technology has improved. So it's a gray area, but also not. In Florida. And then I've also talked to the cops in Georgia and in North Carolina, where I frequently go because my parents have a second home up there. And I've talked to the cops that are up there, and it's a small country town deep in the mountains. And I've asked them, I'll see them at the gas stations and be like, hey, let me ask you a question. Just how much of a risk am I running with this egregiously idiotic dark tint? And they've basically kind of said, hey, listen, there's a lot of people from Florida that come up here and spend a lot of money. So unless you're driving like a complete asshat, we're probably going to leave you alone. But sometimes you just got to charge it to the game and pay a tint ticket. People worry too much about that. Yeah, if you're in business for yourself, tinting windows, and you're a successful business and you can't afford a once a year $100 ticket, raise your price.
I don't disagree.
I mean, not to make light of $100. I'm not trying to, I'm not living that high on the hog, but you know,
I agree. If you're a tinter, you enjoy tinter things, and part of that is enjoying the
but
tint
make
you
a
want.
decision. Live with your decision. If you're gonna tint your windows dark, you might get pulled over for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe don't roll if you're drinking. Don't have flowers in the car that some police officers don't like. If you're worried about that, like
It's a tricky scenario. I never understood. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's
like
it's a balance of risk you want to take in your own life.
yeah, I
And that's
mean,
it.
like if you frequently roll with flour in the car that police can easily smell and often don't like, then maybe don't tint your windows that dark.
But don't you have to tint your windows so that you can enjoy the flower without anybody seeing you? I feel like in LA, and this is not a personal experience, but I'll just share that, like, if you're on like the 405, right? You're on like the major highway, let's call it I-4 for the example of Florida and Orlando,
Yep.
and you're kind of in traffic, like you will see people taking bong rips in their car.
Yep.
Like it's like
I have a
wildness.
lifted truck.
Like,
I can see down into everyone's car.
so
I
like
see
you
it
need the
all
tint to
time.
hide the flower so you can take the bong rips in traffic, but it's the chicken or the egg, right?
But
I mean,
my thing is this: if you get pulled over for the dark tint and you roll the windows down and it looks like Snoop Dogg's in your car because it billows
Yeah.
out, then it doesn't matter what your
you
windows.
better
are.
have your hands out the window. You better,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you better have the whole
like
shebang.
I don't roll like that. Like so
Me neither.
it's not a concern for me. Like I didn't even smoke tonight because if I go from operating on all 10 cylinders to operating on 4, I don't like that. So if I have to have any type of professional conversation, that is not happening first. So, you know, but it's also kind of one of the only ways I can shut my brain off at night because I'm wound up way too tight. And so, but again, I've not partaken in such things tonight because I know I have to have a conversation that is going to be documented.
Well, it's never too late. We're on 2 hours and 11 minutes. We're not over yet. So if you want to light one,
Hey, listen, I got
mark one up right now if you want.
I got a little bit more of this bottle of Quilt, and so no, I'm
When you can
good.
turn that baby into a bong, and we can ride out the third.
I'm not that creative.
Just joking.
No, I'm not that creative. I'm not MacGyver.
I'm just joking.
I will go buy a piece.
So when is your location supposed to be ready? Your brick and mortar location?
It's second or third quarter next year.
Okay.
They've gotten the bids final. So I've known about this location for almost 2 years. The builder is a client of mine. I've had my name down on a lease for 8 months, but they're about to lay the slab. So they're projecting 6-ish months. They've finalized all the bids. They know who's going to be doing all the work. One of the things that was important to me with establishing a location is location. In that, a lot of my clients, more of my high net worth clients, have told me that they use me or don't use XYZ shop because they don't want to send their smoke show of a wife or smoke show of a young daughter to some industrial complex to get their windows tinted and have them sit there. So that's something that's always kind of resonated with me. And so my location is going to be in a residential area. It's on a street corner in Claremont. It's literally, there's a neighborhood on 3 of the neighboring street corners. It's only going to be 14 units. The front of it is going to be dental offices and like retail space. And then behind that, there's going to be 14 units with 500 square foot retail, 2,000 square foot warehouse. And I will have one of those 14 units.
It's beautiful.
So it's not as close to the interstate that I would like, because I have clients that are far away. And so I wanted close to the interstate. So it's like, hey, it's only a 20-minute drive. But then with frontage or with close to the interstate, your rent goes up. And so you can't have it all. And I would rather sacrifice a little bit of drive for more safety and security perception, because perception is reality. So there's a couple of window tint shops in an industrial complex that's very close to my house. And I have a lot of clients that say, I don't feel comfortable sending my wife into there. Now, I know for a fact it's a safe area. But if the perception is that it's not, then it's not. And so if my shop is in a residential area, I skirt that whole thing.
Got it.
And then it's only 14 units. So it's not this big industrial park. It's 14 bays. And then once I get it painted, lights, floors, I'll do a car show or have a big open house. I'll make a video, welcome to my shop. I'll have many, many, many nice cars in there. I'll get, I'll be able to get a Roma, an Urus. My client with the McLaren 720 and his Aventador told me he'd bring those over because the doors open all dramatic. If
are you familiar with the Gallardo?
Yes.
The super. Can you pronounce it for me?
Superleggero.
And then how do you say Gallardo?
Gallardo is actually how they Gallardo is how all the hip hop artists say it.
Okay.
And then if you follow my YouTube channel, the yellow Porsche that's on my YouTube channel is my dad's. So I'll bring that over. So in my welcome to my shop video, I'll have $2-3 million worth of cars. I'll reach out to all my clients with cars that I think will bring them over. And I'll make a video. I'll have a car show. I'll have one of my friends DJ it. I'll have an event. I'll have food trucks there as a open house, if you will.
Nice.
And just from a marketing standpoint, from a transition standpoint, but the location of it was important to me, and I wanted the right location, not the right now location. So
location. It needs to be a space you can work in. It needs to be in the right place. It needs to be at the right price.
Exactly. And again, you can't have it all. I can't afford State Road 50 or State Road 27 frontage. And since you know Orlando, you know where I'm talking about. Like I can't afford that frontage. I also can't afford any of the places that are close, like right off the interstate. And so if I can't afford that and I have to give that up, then I want security and safety. So I'll lean on that. I'll lean on residential, like the residential area that it's in, not residential film. But I think it's the right move. It's just not the right now move. Like I said, I've known about the shop for almost 2 years. I've had my name down. I've signed a lease 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And they haven't laid the slab yet. They're talking second, third quarter next year. And I feel like it's the right call. And so I'm willing to wait on the right call because it'll be a brand new building. It'll only be 14 units. And so I just think it's, I think it's the right call. And, what will be. Maybe the market smacks me in the face and says, you need to go back to being mobile only. And then I have to readjust and figure out how to schedule better or whatever. I don't think that'll happen. But who knows?
Sure. Who knows? But it sounds like you've planned it well. It's not an impulsive decision. And, I think the important part too is having reasonable rent because, you can have a spot, like you said, maybe on State Road 50 or or like right off of I-4 or whatnot. And let's say the rent is double or triple what your rent will be. Now, let's say you can afford it, right? Because it's such a great spot. It's going to bring in so much business. Well, somebody has to actually do that work every month to pay that rent. And if it's high, that's a lot of work because at the end of the day, if the rent's $6,000 and you have to pay, you're doing $500 cars, you can do the math. You have to just X amount of cars profit to be able to do it every month in and out.
Yeah. Year to date, my average dollar per car is $435 year to date.
And
my average
if you don't have employees doing the work, then you're the one doing the work to pay the rent every month. So even if you're in a busy spot, it brings a lot of customers. it could be a lot of wasted work if it's just the going to rent. So I think it makes sense to be in a lower rent area, like you're saying. And, potentially the next move will be to purchase your own location to avoid that rent, because, hey, that money saved in rent is
Yeah,
again,
I have to pay off considerable debt before I start making moves like that. Like I took
but
on
there's steps,
yeah, I took on far too much debt in order to start the business in the vision that I had in my ignorance. So in all my faults.
It's part of
But
learning.
well, yeah, but I mean I learned on the fly after
That's
being
okay.
also
That's how people
in
learn.
the
That's how you
middle.
learn the best lessons.
True, but
That money is like school. It's not like mistakes. It's you learning. Like, I just believe that any money you pour into your own business, whether it works or it doesn't work, into any aspect of it, is a valuable, it's schooling for yourself and your own life experiences. It's not a mistake.
agreed. I'm saying that the excess of money I spent in my ignorance without knowing the category that I was going into, I'm paying for that now.
Fair. Right.
And I have to pay that off before I start thinking about moves like I need to buy my own place.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I get you. It's just like, I just want to point out, like, in that package for anybody, in that package of like, oh, I overpaid for my LLC from LegalZoom, and oh, I overpaid for maybe a setup that I didn't, should have been different in my trailer,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And all those mistakes is also packaged in all that entrepreneurship and ambition, and you willing to go at it, and all the success you had is packaged in that same thing. It's just,
Agreed.
of course, you could piece out the things that maybe you feel like you didn't need. But
no, agree, because there's not one piece of the puzzle that's made me successful where if you took that piece out, it would not. The whole thing would fall apart. So it's not that, but
I know what you're saying. You're paying it back.
I'm paying it back, but I'm paying also a very high price for that because I spent more money than I rightfully should because I had zero context and great ignorance coming into this category.
I like it though. It's blind ambition.
It is, and I had, for lack of a better way to say it, a blank check to come in with blind ambition, and that's costing me now, but it's also why I've been successful. So there's good and bad with it. I don't think that I like to give credit where it's due and not make light of certain things that I think are important then, but then also important going forward. Like, I would love to have my own location, but to own my own location, I mean, I've got to pay off all of that debt, pay my dad back, put some money in the bank, have a much higher operating capital. What was the greatest startup cost in total, Steven? Total, or what was my biggest?
What was when you say you spent, I think, $100,000, obviously 1,000 of it went to LegalZoom. We won't count maybe the cost of your truck because it's your truck. I don't know if you bought it for work, but the point being, what ate up a big part, or a couple things that ate up a big part of that money that you invested in?
I mean, so the things that I would do that I would absolutely do again, in my ignorance, I think I'd still spend close to the same amount of money with LegalZoom just out of paranoia. But the window tint school was $2,500.
But okay, that was a small amount. Keep going.
Okay, so call it $1,000 and then $2,500 on the window tint school, so we're $3,500. Then you got hotel for the whole week while you're up there because it's
how do you get to 100 though? Because you're still we're way under 10 at that range.
No, I get that. So you've got $2,500 at the window tint school. You've got a hotel for that. You've got food for that. You've got gas for that. My shirts, my green shirts that are in all my videos. I mean, those are $60 a crack because I have to buy the shirt. They're nice, dry fit, performance, stretchy fabric. I have them embroidered with all of my logos with Expel on the arm, my logo on the chest. So there's that. There's my marketing materials with my business cards, with flyers, with don't roll down stickers with thank you cards. There's all that. The trailer was $5,000. The plotter was $5,000. When I started out, I was not with XPEL for the first 30 days. So I had a full line of tint with the previous company. So I was carrying a full stock of 5, 15, 20, 30, and 70 in a good, better, best with that company.
Got it. So inventory ate up a big chunk because that whole line is that thousands. And then you switch to XPEL, it's another
after 30
best,
days, and then did a
shades.
full line of XPEL.
Yeah.
You know, and then you've got the build out in the trailer. So that was costly. And then there's marketing materials that did not work. There's clothing options that I did. Like at one point I had like the long sleeve like fishing shirts that are like SPF and like super comfy that I thought would be a good idea working out in the heat. Come to find out the long sleeves get in the way of the tint. And so I stopped wearing those. So that's a sunk cost. And then I went with the polo shirts because I thought they were more professional.
No, but 100, what we just talked about is like 30. So I'm like just still kind of how you get to 100. But I believe you guys trying to figure out where, because
so I ran marketing campaigns that I was doing on credit cards. If I thought it was a good decision, I was putting it on a credit card and dealing with it later. So there's a lot of mistakes in that 100. But that's why when I started out this conversation, I said I've spent a little bit less than 100. But if I had to do it again, knowing what I know now, but with the same visual end result, I'd probably spend 40 or 50.
Got it.
So there's probably $40,000 or $50,000 of mistakes of like, I should not have done that, but in my ignorance, I thought it was a good idea because I had no context. Which, to be fair, is an affordability when you're, for lack of a better way to say it, and I don't mean it to sound as disrespectful as it is, but like when you're in essence operating on a blank check, you make those calls when if you're operating with your own cash, you would not.
And yeah, if you have 10,000 to start a business, it's going to cost you 10. If you have 20, it'll cost you 20. If you have 100, it'll cost you 100.
If you're spending someone else's money, you're going to spend money because you think it's a good idea.
Right. Well, you hope that it's going to bring you a return, but when you don't have it, you're forced to get craftier. Sometimes at the cost of opportunity, sometimes at the savings of potentially wasted money. So
100%. And so that's where like I'm not ignorant to the fortunate situation that I came into it with, and that's why I don't discount it. But looking back on it, if I could do it again, I would have made much smarter decisions. But I also came into a category in which I had no context, no experience, no nothing, but a vision and a blank check. And when you come into it with that, you're going to spend more than if every dollar has to count like it's 10.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And, there's a little bit of that is why I've gotten where I've gotten. And a little bit of that is why I'm paying back what I'm paying back and can't make better moves now. And so some of that is why I'm at where I'm at. And some of that is why I'm not further.
Got it.
I don't want to credit or discredit any of that too much or too little. Like I said, if I could do it again, I'd spend 40 or 50. But, I thought the certain shirts, the long sleeve shirts would be better. I probably spent $1,000 on clothes and branding and logos that ended up not panning out. And then once I made the decision that the polo shirts were the way to go, and they cost me $60 each, and then I have to have enough of those to wear every day and not do laundry every other day, we're talking hundreds, if not $1,000 in polo shirts. And, yes, we're in the numbers that we've discussed right now, we're so far away from 100. But if you start thinking, it adds up. And when you start thinking about the things where you're like, oh, it's $100 here, it's $1,000 here, it's a sunk cost of this, and like totally scrapped that old film that I spent, you know, maybe it was $10,000, who knows? Like it, but then that's gone, and then I have to spend another 10 with Expel. Well, there's 20.
Right, right. The film definitely can eat up a lot of money. Film
I mean,
inventory is usually the
so
bulk of
call
expenses.
it 20 in film, 5 in a plotter, 5 in the trailer. Right now we're at 30. The build out's another couple of grand. Like the computer to run the software, the tint tools, going to the, I mean, if we're at 30 plus everything in the trailer, we're at 35. Call it 2,500 for the tint school plus hotel. We're broaching 40. Talk about living expenses, paying bills in the meantime. I mean,
Sure.
QuickBooks, like
Sure.
Tint
That part can
Wiz.
definitely add up.
I mean, like, for example, last winter, I had to cancel my Tint Wiz subscription for a month and a half because I couldn't afford the $100 a month. I didn't enjoy that. But that was the situation I was in. So, like, but that $100 adds up.
Everything does. And I like that, it's like we talked about a machine earlier. That machine, you got to look at it, right? Sometimes it's easier to ignore it, but if you sit and break it down and look at that machine, it can tell you a lot and it can make your business a lot better.
Yeah.
You
I've
have
got
to
a few
sit there and look at it.
$1,000. I've got a few $1,000s in my website. And I should have more. I only have a few $1,000s in my website because John, I consider family now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but I've got a few $1,000s in my website. Like my website, I feel like is pretty robust for a window tint. Like, I don't know if you've poked around it, but for a window tinter's website that's 3 years in, it's fairly robust.
Meaning a lot of content added to it. Hopefully it gets a lot of organic traffic, that sort of idea.
Yeah. That too. I mean, but all of that, all of that adds up. I mean, just in the spitballing that we've done in this couple of minutes, we've accounted for 40 grand.
Yep.
We haven't accounted for any mistakes. We haven't accounted for any living expenses. We haven't accounted for any fuel.
Right. So I get you. It's just the process.
When I say 100, I'm saying like
right.
Total macro big umbrella cost. I mean, because in there's fuel, there's food, there's tires, there's all of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It adds up to a degree where you're like, how in the actual fuck did you spend 100 in a window tint business? It's like, well, yeah, if I had to do it to start again, I'd spend 40 and be super efficient and tight with it because now I have context. But when you don't,
I get you. Look, you have a burn rate essentially to start, right? That's a term, burn rate. And like if you have your living expenses, you have a family, you have a new business and so on, and you have a difference between that, you have a blank check. I get it more and more how you found yourself having some money to pay back. But you built a business and you might end up paying it back faster than you ever imagined. You don't know what 2022 has in store for you.
On the upside, again, privileged situation. So like, to give credit where it's due, like, the Bank of Dad gives me a great interest rate on repayment.
Yeah, which is super nice.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to discount my situation or my privilege or fortunateness or whatever.
Is your father in any way looking to adopt anyone else?
No.
At this late stage
listen, I'm an only child, and that's probably why he was willing to spend as much as he did, is because he doesn't
change that after this call if you'd like. If your dad's still awake, we could
talk to him. No, he's definitely not awake. He goes to bed before I do. But so there's some of that there also, but not to discount that, but it is what it is, and that's kind of where I come from when I make comments where I'm like, listen, like nothing's off limits. Like I don't want to sit here and try to pretend like I'm in the situation that I'm in without giving credit to all the places that the credit is due. for better or for worse. So there's certain aspects of it that have propped me up, and there's certain aspects of it that propped me up, but I'm paying back heavy costs for it. You know, I'm in a considerable amount of debt because I started the business with my vision. Now, on the upside, starting it with that vision and with that front is why I'm where I'm at. So you tell me what's the better way to go. Um, you know, I challenge anybody to say that they wouldn't do what I did if they were in the situation that I am. Most people just come at it from an aspect of jealousy, where they're like, "Oh, it must be nice," and it's like, "Well, okay, the startup capital isn't why I'm successful. You know, I didn't borrow money and then all of a sudden become successful. Like I still have to be good at what I do."
Right. I mean, it's like somebody can hand you some testosterone and a gym membership, but it doesn't do anything if you don't go to the gym and put in the hard work every single day.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
but I think that there's an authenticity and there's a reality to what I've done, how I've done it, and the fact that I'm transparent about it. Like,
I appreciate that. You've been very transparent. And that's something that you mentioned even before coming on today was how transparent you wanted to be about the transition you're making and the experiences you've had. And I think
and
that's
and
incredibly
and
valuable.
and obviously because of my family background, for lack of a better way to say it, or people I went to high school with, or whatever, who have gotten considerable help from their parents or other family members to start ventures, and they don't talk about that being a significant leg up in the start of their venture. And
Right.
I, when behind the scenes and they don't give credit to that, it's like, okay, yeah, I know you worked hard, but fuckhead, if you hadn't have gotten $100,000 loan, you wouldn't have been able to start and do what you're doing. So yeah, you had to work for it, but don't pretend like you didn't skip the first step.
All the details, everybody starts in a different place, right? And starts their path in a different trail and at a different point. But what you're saying is the context of how you start is important when you share it, because it's, other people are going to maybe try to do what you did or try to do it there, use what you did as their experience or help. And if you're missing that context, it can seem like an unattainable goal if you don't know how you got that loan or
Yeah,
where that startup came from. I get what you're saying.
and I don't say it to be any type of way, but it's just the honest truth of my reality. Like
Yeah.
I break my face. Like the startup capital I borrowed from my dad is not why I work as many hours that I do, or don't see my family as much as I do, or I'm not well adjusted as well as I am. And I'm a crazy person where now I'm in therapy because I just can't shut it off. Like, there's good with the bad, and but not enough people talk about the reality of it. They only want to show you the highlight reel on their Instagram, where for me, and this is blatantly Gary Vee and Matt Mormon, just transparency and authenticity. I've earned my keep, but I started on the second step, not the first.
Well, I
I
appreciate, like, that's valuable that you share that. And I feel
I
like
did
you're in your third year, so you're on your maybe fourth, fifth step, but you're sharing your journey along the way.
very true, but like I said, I didn't start with $3,000. Like, when I teach it, like, because sometimes I will guest teach it at the tint school, and kids, I say kids, I'm 38, so I say kids, but nevertheless, students will ask me, and I will say, listen, if you're not operating on significant startup capital, like, don't even try to duplicate what I've done. Like, but if I only had $5,000 to start a window tint business, this is how I would do it, knowing what I know now. I would spend money here, I would spend money here, I would spend money here, and then grow here, here, and here. So if your reality is $5,000, awesome. Let's talk it out. Because talking business strategy, business plans, accuracy on, like, I want to do this quilt, Stephen.
You go for the comments the second I post them. I like it. It's just
I do.
It's a tricky thing because typically you don't like the viewer doesn't look at the comments because it's so distracting. But I feel like in this case, there's so many questions that I'm putting them up, and you are
put them up. I don't care.
distracted by it.
It's about $50 a bottle.
That's some nice stuff you cracked open for Tint Wisdom tonight. Cheers to you, my friend.
I don't drink a lot, and so when I do, I don't drink shit wine.
That's some high grade indoor lamp grown.
I almost opened up Camus, which is double this, but
very nice.
I was like, let's keep it. There's not an occasion. It's a podcast.
Not an occasion. It's number
it's
140. Martin Fowler and Eric DeVos.
It's a podcast. It's not a special occasion.
Okay, I disagree with you on that, but go ahead.
We don't have time for me to open up another bottle. I love talks of business strategy, how to maximize monies, what's the best way to operate if I've only got this many monies and I'm trying to create this, or I love conversations like that. But and again, I come at it from, if I could go back and do it again, I would do it differently, but you can't. So I'm just going to be honest about how I did it, what was accurate to my situation, and what will be. I know when I go to bed at night, when I look in the mirror, my intent is pure and I'm operating in the reality in which that is me. I mean, if someone else wanted to, for example, right? And I certainly don't say this to shoot shots, but if I were going to start an app, I would not be able to do it in the same way that you did after exiting a company.
Right. No, you're 100% right.
So you started that within your reality. If I were going to start that app and come to you and say, hey, listen, I need advice on starting a CRM app, I've got $10,000, you'd be like, whoa, you're going to be able to do it vastly different than what I did. Because when I started mine, it was after exiting a company. So my reality was different.
Sure. Right. Accurate.
Now you were playing with your money and not someone else's. So like there's that too, but you were operating within your reality and you created what you created. And so it is what it is. But like, I love business strategy. Like, what's the best way to start a tent business with $5,000? Like, how would you best spend that money? I've told Patrick that we should do this, and I've told Lisa that we should do this. Lisa Ann, who you had on semi recently, who's for Audubon.
Lisa Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson. So I told her that me and her should do a podcast similar to this, in that like, we should come at it with like, I'm going to start a window tint business and I'm going to spend the most money possible to just create the like, forgive it, but OG spec window tint business. And then she's going to come at it with spending the absolute least amount of money possible and tell me where I'm an absolute idiot for spending the money that I did, because you could not do that and do this instead. And come up with like how to spend the most and how to spend the least and where someone might find in the middle. I think there's value in that back and forth.
I think how could that not be valuable, And it would be entertaining regardless, because it would be entertaining, but I think obviously it would be definitely valuable.
I've had a few conversations with her offline, in person and over the phone. And nice. She comes at it from a very similar angle that I do, in that when she started in the window film category, she came at it from the business perspective, not from I'm already a window tinter and I'm going to go do it on my own.
Right.
And so her angle of attack is similar to mine in that. And so the business theory or how to best operate, I think she attaches to that like I do. And so I've talked to her about that. I've talked to Patrick about that. But I think that like, because I came at this with like a blank check attitude, let me take the high road, if you will, a high spending road, and let someone else come in and say, no, you're an idiot. Don't spend that. You know, don't spend 1,000, spend 100. Don't do this, do this. Don't spend 1,000, spend 100. Don't spend $10,000 on window film inventory, spend 1,200 and build from there. And see, okay, what's the least amount of money we could start? And what's the most amount of money we can start? And then the people that watch it can say, okay, I have more than $4,800 to start this business, but I don't have 100. So I'm going to watch this podcast and decide like, okay, I've got 13.5. So I'm going to take everything from the lower end side of this podcast, and then I'm going to spend an extra 1,000 here. I'm going to spend an extra 500 here, and I'm going to spend an extra 4,000 here, and I'm going to end up at my 13.5 in my perfect scenario, and take the best of both of these worlds. I think there's a value in that, and I think no one's addressing it.
Tell me a little more about how do you see that being put out there? Like, what do you see as the vehicle, like, to kind of do what you just said as far as like an educational perspective?
I think it's done much like what we're doing right now, where it's just two people talking it out. I don't know if it's better to have that conversation in person or on a live stream like this, where we're on a Skype phone call, basically. You know, I did a podcast recently, Patrick, where we tinted a car in my garage, and then we went and did a podcast at one of my favorite restaurants over a couple of bottles of wine, and had a very talk it out, like Joe Rogan style podcast. He just hasn't gotten around to producing it. Yes, shots fired, Patrick. But there's value in it being in person, and then there's value in it being like this. Like, I would love to have this conversation in person with Lisa, but she's in Texas and I'm in Florida. You know, I think this conversation would go just as interestingly if you were at my house right now, but you're in California and I'm in Florida. But I think this type of back and forth is how that conversation would be. And then maybe instead of a split screen down the middle, there's your screen, my screen, and then the third screen be maybe a tee off, where like instead of a pros and cons, it's most amount of money, least amount of money, and then, you know, the itemized, you know, from there on down, where it's like, okay, filing your LLC, you can do just $100 with SunBiz, or you can spend $1,000 with LegalZoom. If you want to do inventory, you can start out with color stable film in the 3% that are that you would want in your state for roughly $600 plus a windshield film, and you're at $1,000 in window tint. Or you can do what I did and do a good, better, best with a full stock, and you're at 10 grand. I think the back and forth of it with, again, maybe a 3-screen setup where it's like me telling you how to spend the most, maybe someone telling you how to spend the least. There's a written down chart on the third screen, and you could say, okay, I have X for marketing. I value that more than a full, good, better, best until I get established. I can spend $500 with LegalZoom instead of $1,000. So that's $400 more than the minimum, but $500 less than the maximum. And I'll spend that towards uniforms. You know, maybe the money that you save in not doing a full stock of tint, maybe you do that with your thank you cards.
Right.
You know, who's to say what's right? I mean, for example, Patrick's series that he did on starting a mobile window tint business, where he talked about the numbers, I find incredible value in that. I would have watched that over and over and over again had he made that before I started my business instead of him making that because me and him talked about the starting of my business. I really think that information should be out there. Just if I was starting my business today and there was a podcast out there in the window film category on YouTube or Facebook or wherever the hell you're watching videos, and someone said, this video is how to spend the most starting a window tint business and how to spend the least starting a window tint business, and where do you think you want to fall based on the monies that you have, how many times would people watch that? Like,
definitely think it would be a valuable resource for somebody looking. And Patrick's videos that you're talking about when he did that series, they still rank organically for a lot of terms on Google. His YouTube videos rank on Google for a lot of terms related to starting a tint company because he was one of the first to put content out there on it. So I agree, there's definitely demand. I think there's a demand for you to do a podcast, frankly. I know that sounds to you probably like another commitment, and you're so busy as it is. But, you talk about a lot of good points, and why not get that content out there if you can?
I'm not opposed to it. So here's my thing. I prefer in the podcast category, I prefer to have a conversation.
That's what we're doing, right?
Not just talk to the camera. So if anyone's got a podcast or wants to have a conversation because they want to attack me for lack of and I don't mean attack, but like come at me from a different angle.
Pick your brain.
Yeah, pick my brain from whatever angle they want to do, and they want to do something like this, I'm in. I enjoy conversations like this because I'm transparent. I know my intent is pure, so I don't care what information is out there about me. It just doesn't. Like, what are you going to do? Get mad at me for telling you my truth?
No.
Okay, that says more about you than it does about me. And
right.
So, like, I love that concept, and I think that there's a desire for that to be out there, and no one talks about it.
Well,
no one talks about it.
You did a good job about it today in the last.
Well, yeah, but I'm an oddball. But I'm saying though that no one talks about what the actual costs of starting a business are, and I don't necessarily mean the monetary costs. I mean like the fact that I'm literally going to see a therapist right now because I'm so unadjusted and such a crazy person that it's affecting my personal life because I take it that serious. Now, that's a problem. I'm addressing that problem. But to play devil's advocate, and this is going to sound a little bit arrogant, but do you have a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant and be well-adjusted? I submit to you, no.
Tough question to answer,
So not that I'm comparing myself to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, but it's just if your goal is to be that successful or that great or that much of a marker in your category, do you get to that and be well-adjusted? I don't think that you do. And I go at it that hard, and it's affected my personal life in certain ways. And now I'm trying to adjust that because it's caused issues that need to be addressed personally. Yeah. But no one talks about that. Everyone wants to show off rented Rolls Royces on Instagram without talking about the backbreaking and the hours missed. And
funny you bring up that Rolls Royce thing, because I remember an Instagram post of you in a Rolls Royce not too long ago. Can you
that I absolutely rented to go to the Joe Rogan live?
Can you explain your rented Rolls Royce comment, please, Mr. Rented Rolls Royce on your Facebook and Instagram?
Absolutely.
I'll wait over here.
I absolutely will explain that. I told you I'm an open book. I'll answer that question. So I'm a massive Joe Rogan comedy fan. I do watch the podcast. I'm a fan of the podcast, but I love the
You don't know who Tim Kennedy is? Like, he was a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast probably 3 or 4 times.
Oh, you mean one of the many 1,700 episodes that he's done?
Look, I'm a fan of Joe Rogan. I've seen all the episodes. I've listened to him more than once, so I know who they all are. Keep going, Joe Rogan fan.
Okay. So again, I started this by saying I'm a fan of the stand-up comedy more than the podcast. So I found out that Joe Rogan was coming to Orlando. I bought front row tickets. I spent an egregious amount of money on that. So Liz, my significant other, also is a big Joe Rogan fan. So it was worth the money to spend to be that close for that event.
Sure.
We're over at my best friend's house. Now, again, I'm wound up pretty tight in a good mood. It's hard for me to relax, especially if I know I have to drive. So we're at my best friend's house, having dinner with him and his wife. And I was like, you know what? I'm thinking about renting a car or a chauffeur service to be chauffeured for this night so that I can actually attempt to relax. Because that's very difficult for me to do. So Dusty says, dude, I'll drive you. Like, you don't have to pay a chauffeur. I'll basically chauffeur you because we're friends. And then, we'll take you there. We'll maybe have dinner and drinks beforehand. We'll drop you off. We'll pick you up. We'll go out after that. But I'll drive. You don't have to worry. And I was like, listen, if you're for real and you're going to chauffeur me, I'll rent a ridiculous car worthy of being chauffeured in. So I'll rent
the damage of the rental car all night. No, I'm just kidding.
Like
that's where my mind would go. It's like I'm trying to relax. I'd be worried about the goddamn rental.
A concern when you're renting a $400,000 car.
Hey, did you tint it before you took it out?
I thought about it just for pictures. I thought about bringing my videographer over and tinting it just for the video and pictures. I thought about it, but I did not. So I was like, if you're serious and you're going to chauffeur me and not charge me, I'll rent something ridiculous. That way you have a good, because he's a car enthusiast as well. Like back in the day, he had a Lexus IS with 9 TVs and spinners and so he's a car person too. So I was like, dude, I'll rent something ridiculous that's to be chauffeured in, and then you can have fun driving a ridiculous car all night. I can not worry all night. And he was like, well, shit, if you're serious, I'm in. And I'm like, I'm on right now trying to figure out what kind of car to rent. So should I rent a Maybach? Should I rent
on Turo?
No, I rented it from a local rental company.
Okay.
The guy on Turo ended up jacking me around and ended up being a flake and wanted to charge me more but not be there. So anyways, me and Liz both are in agreement that I am not reading all of this, by the way. So you're going to have to
that's okay. I put it up for everybody. I don't want you to stop what you're talking about. So it's kind of a tricky scenario.
Yeah, but I'm trying to read them as they come up. So, because I kind of opened this whole thing with like, hey, if you've got questions, I'll answer them. So I'm trying to do that. But so me and Liz both think that the Ghost is one of the sexiest four-door cars on the road today. So I was like, well, you know what? Fuck it. You only live once. We don't see Joe Rogan all the time. I bought ridiculous tickets. My friend has offered to chauffeur me. So not only do I now get to be chauffeured, but I'm chauffeured by my best friend and his wife. So it's the four of us going out.
Blazing it up in the rolls on the way to Joe Rogan.
100%. It was the most fun on the way there. We got chauffeured in a ridiculous Ghost. He picked us up. Then we went out that night, and I had no worries. And it cost me $1,000. Like, yeah. Which sounds ridiculous, but looking back on it,
was an experience.
I'd have paid double that for the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, the tickets cost me $1,000. The rolls cost me $1,000. Dinner and drinks. I mean, the whole night probably cost me $3,000, but what an experience.
Right. What an experience.
But I also wasn't trying to front on Instagram that I own this thing. I was claiming that it's a rental.
Yeah. No, it was funny you brought it up. That's all.
No, but again, in transparency, call me out on that shit and I'll explain the story. I'm not trying to front like I'm so successful I can have a Rolls. Like, I'm not doing that well. I have a Duramax that I love to the end of the earth. But Liz is in a Chevy Equinox and I live in a 1,800 square foot house. Like, I'm not balling out of control like that. Like, Jesus. I put stickers on windows for a living. I'm not, some other super successful people that I know. But I think that when it comes to Instagram and people fronting, what I'm more commenting on in that regard is that people post on Instagram their highlight reel, and then people that misinterpret social media compare their behind the scenes to other people's highlight reel. And I think that that's where a lot of the problems, disconnect, and depression comes from, because they'll see my highlight reel of a rented Rolls Royce, and they're comparing that to the shitty Monday they're having at work.
I get you. I think some of that's changed a little bit on social media, because now people are, I think, like you said earlier in this podcast, people are looking for more authenticity. I think TikTok, while obviously there's some angles of that's not necessarily
God,
authentic,
I'm trying to figure that platform out.
TikTok's way more authentic than anything else. You're seeing a lot of real stuff on there, a lot of fake stuff for entertainment, but it's less like choreographed than maybe Instagram is or has become known for.
Yeah, and so my point is just like, don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. No one's posting on Instagram the shitty day they're having when they're about to break down into tears and they're like, oh my God, like no one's posting that on Instagram.
Some people are. I can tell you who to follow if you want to be a little more emotional. People, like, there's some people out there that really do put that. They wear their heart on their sleeve and they put it out there too.
Blanket statements. I'm saying that where a lot of the misinterpretation of social media comes from is that.
Fair. Right.
I'm not saying there's not people being authentic. I'm saying that,
right.
Take my Instagram, for example. Shit. Every time I post a picture on Instagram, like my last couple of posts were a ridiculously lifted F-250, a Maserati, a Mercedes-Benz AMG, Ferrari. Like, those are highlight reels.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's not like you're tinting that every hour of every day. Sometimes there's
today,
a Corolla slips in there.
I did a 4Runner and a Jeep today.
Beautiful car. That's $100,000 worth of vehicle right there in today's prices.
Well, it was a Jeep Wagoneer, so just that was $100,000. But I didn't post that.
Flexing right now, though. That was a little humble brag right there. Wagoneer's
a
brand new vehicle.
Marketing only works one way. No one says, Jesus Christ, you knocked it out of the park on that Honda Civic. Do my Ferrari. Said no one ever. You post a picture of a Ferrari Roma, everyone loses their shit and like, do my M3. Like, marketing only works one way. But like, if it's not a highlightable car, I'm not posting it. My Instagram is blatantly a highlight reel. Aside from this month when I've been going hard with the elf on the shelf shit.
Yeah.
And like, wait till Christmas Eve, I'm doing a car, and I actually have an elf on the shelf costume that I'm going to put on and sit on my trailer for a post on Christmas Eve.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm trying to have fun with it also.
I'm having a hard time understanding how you would dress up like an elf in a shelf on Christmas Eve, but you're not interested in all of the tintertainment that has been going on online. It sounds to me like someone is a little bit biased here, and maybe a future tintertainer legend in the making.
I don't get into the drama. I like to laugh.
I don't think it's drama. I agree with you. I don't get into the drama. I grew up with drama. I don't need a life of drama. I want a life of peace. But I like laughing, and I don't think I found myself laughing more consistently than like with these memes and the tinter battles and so on. And then I'm all about the hugs, and there's a lot of hugs too.
So I'm into memes. So I'm always searching for the memeing of life. I love memes. The memeing of life rocks my world.
So what's up? What would you like to see? We can bring some memes up on screen. Whatever you're looking for here.
I love all memes. What I don't like is theatrics. I like humor.
Okay, but I think there has been a lot of humor, is just simply I'm saying, and I can start to bring some of those up through memes. But like, I've laughed my ass off at some of the pictures that Marco's put up and the memes that he's created, and Haas and fucking. I agree with you. I think it's funny. but, and I don't know, I think you would love it. I think you're just, frankly, I think you just haven't been exposed to it in the right frame of mind, so you haven't caught on to it.
It's also highly possible that I'm wound up way too tight and can't even relax enough to enjoy it.
I understand. And speaking of wound up tight, the reporting squeegee.
This is exactly what like.
Hello, Eric. How's it going? It's the reporting squeegee live from the Entertainment Network studios. I'm here with Martin Fowler. How are you doing, Martin Fowler? Thank you for coming on the show today.
Hold on real quick. Squeegee, just tread lightly around Martin because he's not really a big fan of entertainment, even so he is. So
Martin Fowler of the reporting squeegee would like to report on the fact that I am just simply an impartial reporter. I am not here to sell any bias. I'm just here to report on the facts as the reporting squeegee has always done and will always do.
I will. So I will admit that I don't get into the typical big squeegee thing with all the soap ropes that you drape all over yourself. I don't get into that.
This sounds like an entertainment fan to me because he knows. You're talking about Carlos, right?
Blatantly. Like, that is not my thing. But this reporter shit makes me laugh.
Well, thank you very much, but I must remind you that I am not the Texas Squeegee. I do not resemble the Texas Squeegee. I am simply a reporter working on behalf of the Entertainment Network.
Hey, just Texas Squeegee reporter, do you have any updates regarding Tinter battles by chance?
Well, there's a lot of developing stories on Tinter battles, but which part of the Tinter battles are you referring to?
I mean, I heard the winners yesterday, the people who are going to be competing on Jason Omaleski's podcast. I didn't know if there was any news since then. It's been a busy day. I haven't really been able to check the Tintertainment group on Facebook. And I didn't know if you came, I mean, you interrupted our stream at 3 hours in, and I didn't know if you were bringing any breaking updates or anything like that.
Well, the only breaking updates is just some of the controversies that some of the teams that were not able to advance. They're calling controversies. They're calling an election tinterference as to how these winners were determined. So, there's some controversies from those that did not make it. However, the ones that did are extremely happy that they're advancing to Tinter battles. One of the great shocking twists leading up to this event is that this team was expanded from 5 to 9 total teams competing due to the overwhelming Tinterest involved into Tinter battles 2022. Other than that, there's just been a shocking twist. However, the reporting squeegee would like to put out on behalf of the Entertainment Network that everybody who did not advance to the Tinter Battles 2022 final competition still has the ability to battle anybody at the event with the, let me see right here, with the Heat Shrink Battle Tournament that is open to any attendee. If you're on the floor, you have a squeegee tool. You have film provided for you by different film companies. You can challenge anybody on the floor to the Heat Shrink Tournament, which will have a legitimate, actually bragging rights trophy for the person that wins the fastest heat shrink. Any shrinking method is welcome. Pocket shrinking, pull shrinking, dry shrinking, torch shrinking, flamethrower shrinking, anything to push the creative envelope of what you can shrink with. And I'll tell you on that one right there, the Texas Squeegee will be returning to Tinter Battles 2022 to defend his throne as he now takes on the King of the Shrink tournament.
If the trophy isn't a cheesily gold spray painted squeegee, it's a missed opportunity.
See, Eric, Devash, it seems to the reporting squeegee right here that you were right. It looks like we do have a fan, and that was a great idea and suggestion, Mr. Fowler. We will definitely be considering it. As we all know, Montana, on behalf of the Dangerous Squeegees, already has a golden squeegee hanging from his neck, so this would be very fitting to the competition.
See, I was unawares. And I also have to say, if you're going to come in with those color lights behind you, I really feel like your theme song, it's a missed opportunity if you're not listening to or having in the background, I wear my sunglasses at night. That just a missed opportunity not to come in with that theme song.
Well, and Eric Vash, look, I'm simply here just reporting on the facts. I am not trying to be the spotlight. I'm not trying
It
to
should be
take
the
away
intro and
spotlight.
the exit, though.
We would take that into strong consideration as we confer and we determine the development stories of Tinder Battles 2022.
Will we get copyright strike for that? little Corey Hart, like I feel like the first couple of bars of that would be.
I don't know. Maybe the reporting squeegee can hum it on the way out of when we end this podcast. Maybe you could.
I just feel like that's a really popular song and it'd get flagged super fast.
Mr. Eric Vash, the news are just coming in right now on behalf of the window tinting queen. She says that she is open to taking any of the losers of Tinter battles so that providing them a platform for them to vent all of their frustrations. She is willing to be a shoulder to cry on. She is willing to be a Spill the Beans podcast in order to communicate these grievances regarding Tinder Battles 2022, whether you think it was handled properly, whether it was mishandled, what would be different, what are the thoughts on the teams going into it, the experience. This is the first ever election ever held in a window tinting competition to determine national finalists. So there's a lot of passionate individuals that are willing to speak on this and give their opinions as to what they thought this experience was like.
Well, Mr. Reporting Squeegee, I'm sorry, I just want to interject real quick. I know you're new at your job here, and I know you're new into window film and you're new to Tintertainment, but let me make something clear. You just said Tinter Battle losers. There are no losers in Tinter Battles. Okay, the teams that did not make it, they're not losers. So you need to go kind of reevaluate your position because you just said something that doesn't exist. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. And I want you to stop saying it so you don't look like a moron.
If she's going to interview the people that didn't progress to the next level in the battle, it's going to sound a whole lot like interviewing the Dallas Cowboys after a game. Like, if it would have gone completely different, we would have won.
It would be like maybe like a Conor McGregor interview. Who knows? But go ahead, Reporting Squeegee, with your mistakes.
With about the same level of arrogance.
If you remember correctly, the Reporting Squeegee was just quoting something Window Tinting Queen said. Although I will say with full certainty, I am not programmed to feel emotion. I'm simply just a reporter reporting on the facts. My emotions have been deprogrammed as I took this job. So I have no ability to feel love, sympathy, remorse, hate. I'm just here reporting the facts. And if you're not down with that, you can go fact yourself.
Well, why don't we go ahead and wrap that up with a comment that a Tinter Battle 2022 legend and competitor just left in here. Johnny Blades from the Texas Tint Master team said, tell him to cut out the negativity. And I agree with that. So with that said, why don't we wrap this up? We're at 192 minutes for the evening. And if there's any final words, I'm all ears.
Other than that, we are Reporting Squeegee is monitoring the culture of Tintertainment Group closely. We will be updating the crowd and the community as further developing stories break out. We would like to bring a little bit of a spotlight to the developing flat glass division that's going to be at Tinter Battle. So what this means is any window tinters or tint shop owners that want to move and expand into the flat glass, all the questions about how to get more customers, how to handle flat glass projects, how to scale, how to organize yourself, how to present yourself so that you can sell and close flat glass deals. All of those questions will be answered at Tinter Battles 2022. And as developments come into play, the Reporting Squeegee will be on standby to report on these breaking news and breaking developments.
Thank you for all you do. I know you're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week reporter. You're in the roughest conditions, and I appreciate all you do to bring us the latest updates for Tinter Battles.
It's definitely been rough outside in the battlefield with the Tinter Battles 2022 and all the warriors competing into it. Sometimes it feels like I'm on ground zero taking shots from both sides. But you know what? This is why Tintertainment brought in the Reporting Squeegee, because it's a job that only the Reporting Squeegee can do.
Squeegee that.
That's not my trademark, but yes,
Squeegee
I would definitely reference
Jesus.
that.
No, I'm not talking to you, Marco. I'm saying that's Carlos's trademark, not yours, Marco, or Reporting Squeegee.
Exactly. Go fact yourself. You've been fact checked. Squeegee the facts with the Reporting Squeegee.
Thank you, Reporting Squeegee. Martin, thank you for the transparency, the fun, the insight into your business. And I wish you were coming to Tinder battles. It is what it is. Obviously, you have a very good reason not to be there, but I really look forward to doing another one of these as soon as, or even just as you approach the opening of your brick and mortar shop.
Well, I mean, and my thing is also like if there's topics that want to be discussed, or if people reach out to you and want to know more about a particular fashion or facet or category, I'm down to talk about whatever, whenever. Like if someone says we want a short snippet of X, I'll talk about it. Like
The thing is, excuse me, I don't mean to yawn, but the thing is, typically with people is, you know, if you say, hey, if you have any questions, ask them. A lot of people don't necessarily like feel comfortable or even know the question. So it's like, I just feel like I would encourage you to put out content that you think answers questions that people are looking for, because that to me is the proactive. When you say like, hey, if you have questions, ask them. A lot of times you don't get anything, so then you don't put anything, and then nobody wins. But if you take that proactive approach, I think you'll find that there's a lot of people that will appreciate the efforts coming in, and I know I will listen. Because
the reason I say that is because I certainly will put out a video like another Tint and Talk when I feel like I've got something to say. But if I'm going to pay my videographer to come over, film it, edit it, kick it back to me with high quality video and audio, it's only going to be when I feel like there's something to say that's worth paying him to film. Whereas like a podcast like this, where it's just a free live stream and we're just kind of kicking it back and forth, that could be a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation based on one topic.
Right. Well, that's the beautiful thing is you can whip out your phone and you can start filming, and that's all it takes these days. You really don't need the videographer. I know you prefer it, but frankly, iPhone 13 is the best videographer you could have in a tripod.
Yeah. No, and I've got the new iPhones and whatnot, but I just feel like if I've got something important enough for me to want to put out there permanently to live on the interwebs, I'm going to pay my videographer to do it so the audio and video is there. And it's only going to be when I have enough to say to take up a video. But if someone wants to have a shorter conversation about one topic, I'm in for whatever that topic is.
Martin, what's your phone number for anybody? We'll just put it out there for anybody who wants to call you late at night with questions.
Well, if you call me late at night, you're going to get my phone service that I've turned it over to. Text messages, you'll get a response in the morning, but it's 352-284.
No, don't put your phone number. I'm just joking. It's just a joke. I'm talking over
it. It's public on my website. It's not like you can't go to Alligator Window Tint.
If people are going to troll you, make them go through the effort. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, if you've made it to 3 hours and 16 minutes into this podcast, you'll go down the rabbit hole to find my number that's on my website.
That's true.
I mean, we're 3 hours in. Like, Rogan only has a handful of podcasts that are longer than this.
Yeah, I like it. I like the long form because
I like this. I like the reporter a lot more than the pro wrestling themed guy.
Who does wrestling?
No, like the your other character,
Carlos. I believe I can shed some light as to who he's talking about. He's talking about, of course, the glass tinting, film slinging, tinter beating, hell raising, trailblazing, most tint-defying figure in all of entertainment today. The one that they call the tinted one, the Texas Squeegee.
Yeah, I like this character better.
Well, thank you very much. This is just a reporting Squeegee, simply reporting on the facts on Squeegee the Facts.
Well, thank you for reporting, Squeegee. We can always count on you for unbiased, just report the news, what's out there in the Tinterverse, and thank you for your hard work. Martin,
next time drop in. Next time drop in like Ollie from Family Guy with just like a quick snippet.
I will pass that information on to the reporting Squeegee. I mean, the Texas Squeegee, sorry. My apologies.
All right, well, with that, let's squeegee that and wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Martin, again, thank you.
If you've made it this far, thank you. Holy God.
If you made it this far, exactly. Like, fuck. Even if you joined late, thank you. It's late at night for a lot of people.
These are conversations that thoroughly interest me. So, like, even though we are well past my bedtime, these conversations fascinate me. So, but not everybody. So, like, if you've made it this far down the rabbit hole, wow.
Well, Martin, you're going to want to come back next week, same time, same place, for somebody who is going to fascinate you. It's a Tinter Battle legend from 2021, Dean Machine Mitchell, one of the competitors in 21, one of the judges in 22, and I'm sure he will provide a tintifying show for us next week. So Dean Mitchell, guest next week, and reporting Squeegee, thanks again for joining and bringing us the facts.
Well, one more thing, Eric, before we close out. The Tinter Battles is 99% sold out. We are having over 300 people registered to attend the event. So we are 99% just about almost at full capacity. So if you have not gotten your ticket and if you have not booked your flights, do so now as soon as possible, because if you don't book your flights, this is on a spring break week. You may not be able to find a place to stay and enjoy the most tintifying show anticipated for 2022. This has been the Reporting Squeegee, signing out with Squeegee the Facts.
Bye, guys. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks again. Bye.